Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you to everyone viewing remotely. I call to order the closed session of the Mayor and City Council at 5:33 p.m. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Here.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Here.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem. Here. Councilmember Reynoso.
Here.
Councilmember Calvin.
Present.
Councilmember Alexander.
Here.
Mayor Tran.
Here. Thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, we do not.
Thank you. We will now. I call to order, and thank you to those viewing remotely as well. I call to order this joint regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council and the Mayor and City Council acting as the successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency of the City of San Bernardino at 7:11 p.m. San Bernardino Police Department's Chaplain Nelson Glass will lead tonight's invocation, and Barton Elementary School's ASB President Aaron Caballero will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please approach the podium at this time, both of you. Thank you. And please rise.
Just stand right there. There you go. And then you'll be next, okay? Creator God, allow your grace to rain down upon our city of San Bernardino. Instill our mayor and council persons the needed wisdom, knowledge, and fortitude needed to build our city back to a place of peace, welcoming, and opportunity. Bless and protect our police, fire, and city employees as they cheerfully serve our community. May we all come together to share our knowledge, our patience, and love for one another. We ask this in your great name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain, and thank you, Aaron. Fantastic job. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Here.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Present.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Here.
Councilmember Charette. Here. Councilmember Reynoso.
Here.
Councilmember Calvin.
Present.
Councilmember Alexander.
Here.
And Mayor Tran.
Here. Madam City Attorney, is there anything to report from closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. Mayor, council members, and members of the public, I've been asked to make a statement this evening regarding closed session items B, public employee appointment, and C, conference with labor negotiator for an unrepresented employee. The city engaged a professional consultant to assist with the city manager search and selection process. 67 people applied for the city manager position, and the resumes for all 67 individuals were provided to the mayor and city council for review. From the 67, the council agreed to interview 5 candidates and offered possible terms of employment to 2 applicants. The mayor and council are very pleased this evening to announce that a formal offer of employment has been made to a city manager candidate. The mayor and council have directed the placement of an employment agreement on the city council agenda at the next regular city council meeting. Because state law requires that an employment agreement for a city manager be on a regular meeting agenda, and due to the fact that the September 20th regular meeting has been canceled, the city manager appointment will be on the council agenda for October 4th. This statement was unanimously approved by the mayor and council. That's all that I had to report.
Thank you. Okay, before we start conducting city business, as a friendly reminder, as the elected leaders of the city, we will endeavor to be respectful to each other, our public, and especially our staff. Our behavior this evening sets the tone for how our residents, business community, and others view our city. Please exercise mindfulness and respect towards our public speakers. We must conduct city business with professionalism and respectful behavior to build trust, credibility, and move our city forward. We shall commit to these values and foster a positive and productive working environment that is conducive to achieving our goals effectively and efficiently. Next on the agenda, we're moving to presentation. We do have one proclamation, and it's the proclamation for National Library Card Sign-Up and Literacy Month in the city of San Bernardino, September 2023. This proclamation will be received by James Pearson and Randy Clyde of the Library Board. Can I have you come up to the podium? Hello. Okay. Hi. How are you? Good to see you. Hi, good to see you. All right. Proclamation of the Mayor and City Council observing September 2023 as the National Library Card Sign-Up and Literacy Month in the city of San Bernardino. Whereas in observance of September being National Library Card Sign-Up and Literacy Month, patrons are encouraged to visit one or more of the 4 San Bernardino public libraries either in person to sign up for a regular library card or virtually at www.sbpl.org to sign up for digital library cards, utilize online resources. And whereas weekly public services hours expanded to 40 hours 2 years ago, and whereas people visit in person or virtually, libraries offer endless opportunities to transform lives through education and lifelong learning, serving people of every age, education level, ethnicity, and physical ability. And whereas in addition to patrons checking out books and doing research, our libraries offer various free activities such as preschool story time, crafts, workshops, author visits, entertainment programs, literacy services, and various classes to help people improve their lives without cost. And whereas our online services for remote learners, including ebooks and e-audiobooks, homework help via chat, and others have been more valuable than ever to our patrons during the pandemic. And whereas more than 26,000 have our library card, and whereas San Bernardino Public Library offers literacy tutoring through the Jack L. Hill Lifelong Learning Center, providing services to adults, children, and families, everyone's invited to participate in many activities and events offered in the Learning Center, encouraging lifelong learning and developing workforce training and skills. And whereas our San Bernardino Public Library has served our community for 132 years, and if there is any city that can benefit from a free public library, it is here. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino do hereby proclaim September 2023 as National Library Card Sign-Up and Literacy Month, presented this 6th day of September 2023. Thank you, you both, for accepting. Council, would you like to join me, please? Thank you to our library board. At this time, public comments will be heard. In-person speakers will be heard first, followed by remote speakers. To address the city council, each individual must fill out a speaker slip. A speaker slip must be completed and turned into the city clerk at this time. Only those speaker cards turned into the city clerk will be allowed to address the city council. No late cards will be accepted. Each person should state their name for the record. Please note that at 8 p.m., we will pause public comment and proceed with the public hearings. Public comments will resume after the closing of the last public hearing. If you require Spanish interpretation, we do have an interpreter on site. Please raise your hand at this time to indicate you will need translation assistance. In addition, we have interpreting listening devices available in the back. Please note that the interpreter will be dismissed if we do not receive any requests for interpretation by 9 p.m. Before we have our Spanish interpreter speak, I'd like to announce that there's interest by council to pull item number 20. Is the strategic initiative because of the amount of time that needs to be spent on this presentation that's going to present to the public and the council. We're going to move this item to a special meeting next Tuesday at 5:30. Council, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilmember Reynoso, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Charette.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso.
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin.
Yes.
And Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously to continue this item to special.
Thank you.
meeting next
Again, item number 20, the strategic initiative will be presented to the council and to the public next Tuesday at 5:30. So if you still want to speak on it, you can tonight, or you can come next Tuesday to speak on the item. Thank you. Our interpreter will now make the announcement in Spanish.
En este momento se escucharán los comentarios públicos. Primero se escucharán los oradores en persona, seguidos por los oradores remotos. Para dirigir el Consejo Municipal, cada individuo debe completar una tarjeta de orador. Se debe completar la tarjeta de orador y entregarla a la Secretaría Municipal en este momento. Solo aquellas tarjetas de orador entregadas a la Secretaría Municipal podrán dirigirse al Consejo Municipal. No se aceptarán tarjetas tardías. Cada persona debe indicar su nombre para el registro. A las 8 p.m. pasaremos en audiencias públicas y complementaremos el resto de los comentarios públicos después de cerrar la última audiencia pública. Si necesita interpretación en español, tenemos un intérprete presente y por favor de levantar la mano en este momento para indicar que requiere servicios. También tenemos aparatos disponibles para escuchar la Junta en español. Si no recibimos solicitud para el servicio de interpretación antes de las 9, el intérprete se retirará.
Gracias. Thank you. Madam City Clerk, how many speakers do we have tonight?
We have 56 speakers. 56 speakers?
Thank you. In light of the fact that we have 56 speaker slips to allow adequate time for the City Council to address the city's official business on the agenda this evening, each speaker will be limited to a minute and a half per comment instead of the usual 3 minutes in accordance with resolution number 2018-89. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. Please call on the speakers.
Okay, if you hear your name, please make your way up to the podium. Val Christensen, Leanne Uribe, Stephanie Davidson, Sharice Sterling, Valley Davis, Michael Davis, Ricky Van Johnson, Doris Fox Harris.
Please state your name. Yes, sir.
How about that? It works. Well, I'm excited to be here. I want you to know that I've been in business, or been doing business in San Bernardino since 1962, and used to come to a place called the Central City Mall. Any of you remember that place? No hands went up, so I assume you don't. But I'm here to talk briefly about three things. Number one, I'm involved with an organization that's traveling through the San Bernardino and Inland Empire, teaching the history of San Bernardino and how it was founded in those early days, how the streets got their name, like Mill Street and Lytle Creek and places like that, and would like to volunteer them to come and talk to various groups you have within the city sometime. The other issue I've got to talk about is that our business has been here for about 43 years. We own a little business down the street called Sundowners Family Restaurant. Sundowners is surrounded now by empty buildings. For the first time in 43 years, Sundowner sales are declining. That's never happened before to us, and we're concerned about that issue. And I'd like to volunteer to help that issue, because the issue comes to the issue of homelessness in the area. And everybody talks about it, but I don't think many people do anything about it. And I'd like to try to volunteer to do something about it. If there's committees or organizations or workshops within the city of San Bernardino, I would be pleased to serve on any of those.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Thank you.
In addition to that, I have to invite you to our reopened house on September 16th, Saturday, and you're all invited, and I have invites, and I was supposed to give that to somebody.
You can get to city clerk right here.
Okay.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Mayor and council members, thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight. My name is Leanne Uribe. I am a field representative for Supervisor Joe Baca Jr. I am here today to invite the community to the Del Rosa Fire Station groundbreaking ceremony. The ceremony will be approximately 1 hour on September 19th at 10 a.m. And the new station will be located in 1920 Del Rosa Avenue in San Bernardino. So you guys are all welcome to join us. Secondly, an update on Fire Station 227. A community town hall will be held at the Arrowhead Elementary School on September 13th from 4:30 to 6:30 to meet with the students, family, staff, and community. Staff will have the opportunity to share about the project and have the community share input for their preference on the playground improvements. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name. Oh, please push the button on the, thank you.
Valerie Davis, Ward, 5th Ward. I was just a little disappointed that they pulled the item 20, but we understand, and we thank you for at least postponing it, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to speak on that subject. But I'll just mention what I was going to say in reference to that I am here requesting your yes vote to repeal San Bernardino's discriminatory multi-housing program ordinance, MC 1351. I thank you for your time and interest.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Doris Fox Harris, and I live in San Bernardino, California. I'm here requesting your yes vote to repeal San Bernardino discriminatory multi-housing program ordinance number MC 1351. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Yes, I am Prophet Dominic, and I wanted to address like the developers and investors for San Bernardino. They want to come in and build all these big corporate businesses and all that. Well, why not build like an amusement park or a roller rink? Because San Bernardino is a depressing city. We don't have hardly any entertainment, like a movie theater, a few here and there. But, you know, there's a shopping mall, but we need something like uplifting, something to do, things to go do, you know? I just wanted to talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Good evening. Ricky Van Johnson, Ward 6. Over a decade ago, Mr. City Manager, you presented the City Council with a plan to avoid bankruptcy. However, the council did not have the political will to take advantage of your advice. It did not matter that you had been in leadership for over 3 decades as a thriving executive, that you turned challenging cities around where eventually they would prosper because of your management and wisdom. None of that mattered. Well, by not listening to your advice, we know how that turned out. Now this evening, you have postponed it to another day, you have presented San Bernardino with a plan to move the city strategically forward. Hopefully, the political will present tonight or that evening will support your advice born over many years of successful experience. I surely would hate to see another Groundhog Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Madam City Clerk, do we call the names?
Yep, Stephanie Davidson, Cherise Sterling, Michael Davis.
I don't see anyone coming up with those names.
Moving forward, Julie Farabee, Marcia Dowry, Evelyn Martin, Albert Hopkins, Al Palazzo, Frank Montes, Jerry Allen.
Please state your name. Thank you.
My name is Julie Furby. I live in the 4th Ward, and I've been a resident and born and raised here for over 74 years. I went to schools where you didn't have to worry about being shot or kids bringing their guns to school. There was no graffiti all over the city. We didn't have homeless people who couldn't meet ends and had to sleep in the streets. We were able to burn our trashes in incinerators in our backyards because the air was so clear. We will not be able to go back to that time again, but we can take this city back and make it beautiful like it used to be. A city that we can be proud to say we lived here or we're living here. I'm here requesting your yes vote to repeal the San Bernardino Discriminatory Multi-Housing Program Ordinance MC 1351. And I'm also here to ask you to accept Mr. Charles McNeely's plan to beautify the city. Please give this man a chance. Please give this man a chance. We've invested money in his plan. Let's not let it go down the drain.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Marcia Doherty, and I'm a member of Pastor Beckley's church, and we're trying to help people that are homeless and give them food and necessities, the necessities of life. There's so many people, like the lady just said, that's hungry and don't have a roof over their heads and any kind of, those are not luxuries. Those are everything that everybody needs all the time, a toilet, a place to get clean. And this is just subhuman to treat these people like they don't exist and not do anything for them. And Charles McNeely has some type of proposal that's going to come up. It's not near what we need, but it's better than some of these other people that are embezzling the city's money and going to jail for it and not really caring. And I'm a voter, and I'm also a veteran of the United States Navy, and I've never seen this kind of. I've never seen this type of people that just don't even care about each other. you know, they don't try to help these people. And we're not going to succeed in this city if we don't help everybody. You know, it's not just the rich people. We need to help everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name. Mike, your mic's not on, sir. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening. I'm Albert Hopkins. I'm a resident of San Bernardino. I want to talk about our raggedy streets. We've got some streets that are outrageous. I've been out here for over 45 years now, okay? And I got a warped rim right now because of a raggedy street. There's a lady that is handicapped that's riding in a wheelchair, and she cannot get down her street where she lives, Elmwood, over in that area, okay? I also support Charles McNeely, okay, on what he can do. He's giving you guys a proposal, and I put it like this: if it walks like a crook, it acts like a crook, it's a crook. Bottom line, we need somebody has something decent here for us with an excellent plan, at least to go forward. You know, we got to at least get our feet wet. Let's do something. But if you're grabbing somebody that has a bad track record already, like I say, walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Let's not do that. Let's move forward with Charles McNeely's plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Alfred Palazzo. I would like to recommend the Lewis Group companies to rebuild the site of the Carousel Mall. They are local in Upland and have an outstanding track record of high-quality developments to communities: Rancho Cucamonga, Fontana, Rialto. They built Terra Vista, they were partners in Victoria Gardens, and they built the Rialto Renaissance. What's up with the parking lot for big trucks on Mount Vernon and Goodlet, Route 66? That is a light industrial use. That should be near the railroads. Is this your idea, your vision for bringing back Mount Vernon? In the past 50 years, in a dozen cities from Rialto to Pasadena, these cities have built outstanding commercial, residential, office buildings, and mixed use. If you had taken my vision tour, you would have seen exactly what commercial, residential, office buildings, and mixed use we could be building on Mount Vernon. I am here to give you better ideas, to bring prosperity, economic development, to bring the revenues to solve the problems that face San Bernardino, with solutions that will move this city forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Yes, Frank Montes. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the community. I'm here to invite you all to our Latina Awards that the Hispanic Coalition of Small Business is having here in the city of San Bernardino, October 14th, a Saturday. We are recognizing 7 Latinas throughout Southern California and the Inland Empire, 2 which are of San Bernardino. Meatla Cafe is going to be recognized for their years of service, and also Dr. Noemi Ornelas, the Vice Chancellor of San Bernardino Valley College. I will leave some information with the city clerk, but this is the first time that this event is being held in San Bernardino. We have folks coming from other states which belong to our coalition that be here. The other 5 awardees will be announced later on this week. Very high caliber Latinas from every industry, every walk of life. So I invite the council, members of the community, to come and celebrate the close of Hispanic Heritage Month. We need to come together as a community and celebrate our cultures, celebrate ourselves. So I invite you all to be there. Again, October the 14th. It's a Saturday, and it will be at Hospitality Lane at the DoubleTree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, last call for Evelyn Martin and Jerry Allen, followed by Stan Futch, Brett Ward, Keith Benitez, Ollie Espinoza, Ulises Benitez, Terry Boykins, James Smith, Christian Shaughnessy, Jody Eisenberg.
Please state your name.
Good evening. I'm Stan Futch, President of the West Side Action Group. WAG supports the strategic initiative. And since you pulled it off the thing, the first thing you said was respect. And then the first thing you do is all these people are here for that initiative. And the first thing you do is pull off the agenda. They'll be back, but it's a shame that you did so. Tonight, I see you have it on the agenda, the upcoming election on March 5th, 2024, where 4 of you are up for re-election. We have some concerns and issues we will discuss with you if you decide to run for election. I had the opportunity to read the strategic plan, and like I said, we support it. WAG just came off a weekend retreat in San Bernardino Valley College, where we reviewed ideas for next year's national, state, and local elections were on the forefront. For example, we have already begun looking for election results on every ward in the city because of how some of you disrespected and downright ignored some of our black leaders. When you do that to our pastors and women, we must act. To give some heads up, WAG's concerns are how you are spending American Rescue funds, how and why you have gone through so many city managers since 2009, what is your plan for the Carousel Mall property, why is it so hard for you to work as a team? If you do not adopt the strategic initiative,
you.
what are you going to do? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, I'm Keith Benitez. I'm here with the City Youth Advisory Board on the topic of voting against crime-free housing ordinance and the crime-free housing ordinance. I would like to start with an experience I've had. I have been a victim of this ruling basically my entire life. My father, when I was a toddler, was arrested and deported back to El Salvador, which then our then landlord kicked us out, leaving us to live with my grandma in a 2-bedroom house filled with her, my family, and my cousins. We lived there for 12 years until we found our house up in Hemet, and then again, I had the audacity to ask for help when I was contemplating suicide and trauma, and due to that, we were kicked out again because I was a suicide risk. And to hear that this is an issue here in San Bernardino, the one place where I feel like I'm actually safe, away from my abusers, away from all the trauma, the fact that this is still an issue is very disheartening because of how much I've grown here. I can't say I'm proud that this is still an act, but I can't say I'm not surprised. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Ollie Espinoza. So hello, I'm here with the City Youth Advisory Board, and today I'm here to speak on the city crime-free housing ordinance. I haven't personally experienced the struggle of losing my home, but I have deep concern with this ordinance. I am a part of a family of immigration, so I understand the struggle of house instability, but I've grown with a strong fear of losing my home, and I've seen it happen to others, so it's always in the back of my mind. It's a fear I still live with today. I am lucky to have family support now, but growing up, it was basically slim to none. I hope coming here today helps this council members understand this doesn't just affect the victims, but many in one's family. I asked today that we vote to oppose a position of crime-free housing so we do not accidentally harm families in the name of stopping crime. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Terry Boykins, Executive Director of Project Fighting Chance, and I just wanted to let everyone know that Reuben Campos Community Center is just absolutely a phenomenal place that is creating some true champions, and particularly as we talk about young men of color. And so a lot of people have been hearing about the different events and programs. I don't think they forgot about the championship boxing program, but tonight we actually have Coach Ian Franklin and the Champion Fights boxing program that represents San Bernardino near and far. So we want to just give a shout out to these young men.
Good evening. I just wanted to, and these guys are fresh from the gym too, so some of them are apologizing for being sweaty. But I just want to take the time. The first three individuals I want to introduce are new to our program, working very hard, but I see many championships in their future. The first is Dayton Smith. Raise your hand. Dodger Smith. Stephen Becerra. 2022 finalist for the state championship, Tajay Zelaya. '22 state champion, Dangerous David Lopez. His brother has been a YouTube sensation with a one-punch knockout of the state champion, Dynamite Daniel. Last but not least, 8-time national champion. We're going to the Olympic trials to represent the United States of America. And CBS KCAL just did a segment on us. It's due to air very soon. Terrible Terry Washington. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ian,
congratulations.
what happened to the young ladies? Because the last time we had some young ladies in that lineup. Where are they?
She is running track, but she will be back, she said.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name. Jim?
Honorable Mayor, City Council people, I'm James Smith with the Native Sons of the Golden West, former state president 43 years ago. I wanted to comment a little bit about our building. Our building's being demolished. We sold our building, and we still have a wonderful sign on the building that's going to be preserved. We're now meeting at the formerly the Andreessen building, the Enterprise building, and we will be dedicating that next month. So we're still strong, vibrant, largest parlor in Southern California. But I wanted to talk specifically about a wonderful article that was in the Sun about our tremendous police department. And there's our police chief right here. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you. Also, I had a very, very positive experience at the DMV office in San Bernardino this week. I renewed my driver's license. I tried to do it in Redlands a couple times, but they are, in San Bernardino, they are so professional, that Department of Motor Vehicles Department. And I strongly encourage you, if you need to renew your license, go to the one in San Bernardino. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Brett Ward, residents of 7th Ward in San Bernardino. Just wanted to make a couple of comments of commendation and thanks for the city clerk for quickly emailing me some resolutions and documentation. Thank you, Ms. Rocha. And I want to commend you on the strategic initiatives. There's only a few things in there I disagree with, and there's only a few facts that didn't quite fact check well. They're not important. The important part is we have a game plan now. We have a game plan, which things I've been brainstorming for 3 years are in this plan. But the one thing we've got to remember is it's not enough. And I'll give you one stat that breaks my heart, and I'm going to walk away. 40% of all the homeless that we do temporarily shelter. 40% of the, I'm sorry, direct the council. 40% of all homeless put in temporary sheltering, such as Motel 6s and other housing in groups where they congregate, die in the first year. We are sentencing them to death as Christians. We must do more. We must have two avenues: allow them to die on the streets or force them into treatment. And that is on the books in Sacramento, and I fully support that. I work with these people for 30 years, one-on-one. I bring them into my home. Everybody should watch Our Man Godfrey from the 30s. Nice, lighthearted comedy lesson for all of us. I'm trying not to sound down because I am so full of hope right now that things are turning around.
Thank
And I
you.
want to be a part of it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Good evening, brothers and sisters, honorable members of the council, and our honorable mayor. My name is Christian Shaughnessy. I come here today as the staff liaison of the San Bernardino County Youth Advisory Board on Homelessness. We have had many wonderful young people, and one more wonderful young person come on down and take the brave step of engaging in public speaking as young people, so I think they deserve a round of applause for that. But as for myself, I wanted to speak on Resolution 19, having to do with the crime-free housing ordinance in the city of San Bernardino. And I believe the time has come for us to repeal it. And we must repeal it because I know there have been good intentions amongst people in this city. The people have argued in favor of it, the people who have gone to great strides and lengths to ensure we don't have crime around where we live, where we have families. And I know that this is something that has affected me personally because I've lost a friend to gun violence and crime in the city. But what reality has demonstrated to us is that this has realistically resulted in disproportionate harm to our black and brown people. It has harmed our poor people, it has harmed our young people, and it has even harmed many of our elders. And we owe it to ourselves as a great moral prerogative and responsibility to defend our people from all sorts of crime, including the moral crime of unneeded eviction. And that is why I urge you to vote to repeal this here ordinance and do the right thing for our people of San Bernardino and our beautiful working families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Ulises Benitez. I am part of the San Bernardino County Youth Advisory Board. I would like to speak on the crime-free housing as a personal experience of mine. I would say a couple years back, we were renting a house, right? And our family, I have a brother, autism, another brother, ADHD, and oppositional, he follows direction if it helps him, which caused many problems in his life and ours because he's acted out in the house, outside the house, all over that. And our landlord actually hired our rent, hired just the prices, which caused it to be less affordable. And by the end of 3 years ago, which is before we moved to San Bernardino, he just completely kicked us out just because my brother had behavioral issues and was just he wasn't a safety for the house and got put in it's just he never got to
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Jody Eisenberg. I live in the 4th Ward. I've been a resident of that ward since 1983. I am here as the Vice President of the San Bernardino Area League of Women Voters. There are 2 R's, people, in the name of our city. Let's pronounce them. I am here on number 19. We want you to do a full repeal of the ordinance, the crime-free housing, so-called crime-free housing ordinance. The effect of that ordinance is really difficult on, as you know, on people who have criminal records, on black and brown people, on people of low income, full repeal of that ordinance. And with respect to number 20, we're asking you, please, to let us know where that hearing will be on Tuesday.
It would be here, my understanding. Madam City Clerk, would we agendize it to have it here, the special meeting?
If that's
Next-
the council's direction, yes.
Is that council? Yes, it'll be here.
It will be here?
It would be.
Great. The League of Women Voters
And it's
is
5:30 on Tuesday.
5:30
Yes,
here on
next Tuesday.
Got it. Everybody got that?
Next Tuesday, 5:30 here.
Great, thank you. So the League of Women Voters does have a position on homelessness, and we think that this ordinance contributes to homelessness in the community, and we urge you to please vote yes on repealing the entire ordinance. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Be mindful, we have 5 more minutes till 8 p.m., so just want to let you know that, Madam City Clerk.
Okay. The next speaker, Makaya McKenzie, Ruben Mendoza, and Anthony Kim.
Hi there, how's it going? My name is Makaya McKenzie. I'm here to appeal against the crime-free homeless ordinance? No, home ordinance. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not from around here. I've been all around, and I finally settled down here. And for me to hear about this ordinance, fuck it. I don't like it. I fucking hate it. It's dumb. It's bullshit. What about, because you're not thinking about the future of the younger people. Simply because their father may have committed a crime, or their mother, or their brother. So they committed a crime, they're out of housing, put more stress on them. It's dumb. I hate it. I was just sitting here waiting my turn to speak, and I just getting more enraged. It's utterly disgusting. I hate it. I hate everything about it, and I wish it wasn't here. There's more I could say, but out of respect for the time that we are currently in, I'll end it right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hey, City Council and everyone. My name is Ruben Mendoza. I'm a member of the Youth Advisory Board, and just yesterday I started my position at the Making Hope Happen Foundation as a housing associate, and I'll be working to advance the production of affordable housing in this city, so I invite you to connect with me. But I'm here to talk about agenda item number 19, and I'm asking the City Council to repeal this item. And I want to give you a case study so that way we don't repeat history. In 2015, the city of Hesperia implemented this ordinance, and in 2016, the Department of Justice opened up an investigation. In the end, the County of San Bernardino and the city of Hesperia were required to settle for $1 million. $670,000 of that $1 million went specifically to tenants. Timothy Zering, a former police officer, actually founded the crime-free housing concept. But ironically, he advises against it, as he says that enforcement falls under the color of law. The Department of Justice also put out some statistics where Black people were 4 times more likely to be evicted. The Latinx population were 30% more likely to face eviction. Similarly, in the state of California, 80% of people that were targeted for evictions, including LA and Sacramento, 80% of those people were Black and Latinx people. It's also important to note that the city of Jeme and Adelanto also repealed their crime-free housing ordinance after ACLU pursued litigation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say real quickly, Christian Shaughnessy for Ward 3.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name. Can you turn on your mic, please? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Kim, and I'm an attorney with Inland County's Legal Services. We applaud the city for considering repeal of the crime-free multi-housing program in which we and our co-counsel, the Public Interest Law Project, have advocated for ever since we became aware of the crime-free multi-housing program following review of the city's fifth cycle housing elements. While it would certainly be a good first step to adhere to the stipulated judgment that the city has entered into to amend the crime-free multi-housing program to discontinue and remove its most harmful provisions, including the crime-free addendum, fees, and penalties, we still believe it ultimately should be the city's goal to rid itself of this ordinance in its entirety and remove unnecessary barriers for individuals and families seeking housing, including those who are returning home from incarceration and seeking to rejoin their families and communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It is now 8 p.m., so we will move to public hearing.
Before you leave, that item is the first one in the public hearing, so please don't leave. Sorry about that. Discussion.
Okay, the first public hearing is item number 22. Conduct public hearing introduction of an ordinance to grant a franchise to Southern California Gas Company. I am opening a public hearing at 8:01 p.m. Could city staff provide presentation on this item?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Prior to me presenting the item, I do want to let the council know that there was a memo submitted to the council on behalf of the city manager and myself for correction on the staff report. In the recommendation and the conclusion, we inadvertently added Edison to this. Edison is not under review. It's the Southern California Gas Company. So this typo was in the third recommendation and in the executive summary. But that was the only area where Edison was added. So regarding item number 22, staff is recommending to conduct a public hearing to receive comments on the proposed franchise agreement with Southern California Gas Company and introduce, read by title only, and waive further reading of ordinance MC 1621 to grant a franchise to Southern California Gas Company to provide utility services. The proposed 20-year agreement would go into effect on October 4, 2023 and expire on October 4, 2043. Under the terms of this agreement, which are consistent with the California Public Utilities Commission guidelines, SoCalGas will pay the city a franchise fee of 2% and relocate its facilities at no cost to the city when in conflict with a public construction project. There is no fiscal impact with this action. Although there's no estimated impact, the city currently receives an average of $700,000 in revenue under the previous franchise agreement. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public who have submitted a request to speak?
We have two. The first speaker is Les. The second speaker is Cheryl Brown.
Okay. Can I have the two speakers come up to the podium? And you will have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name. Thank you.
Les. I'm not going to use the whole 3 minutes. I just want to say something real short. 20 years is a long time for us to lock ourselves into a contract. You guys can't do month to month, you know, or at least 5 years or something, but 20 years, that's a long time. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Mine is even faster. I could not believe when I read this that Edison had become a gas company. So you made the correction, and that's why I'm here, is just to point out that I didn't know that that's what was going on in the city of San Bernardino. So thank you, staff. I do understand how things like that happen. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. No other speakers, Madam City Clerk?
No.
Oh, thank you. I'm now closing the public hearing at 8:04 PM for deliberation action. I believe there's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Charette. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have comments and discussions? Councilmember Calvin, followed by Councilmember Alexander.
Thank you, Director Hernandez. I appreciate that. Just for clarity, can we then answer the constituents' question? Why 20 years?
So that is a typical agreement that Southern California enters with all municipalities. So it's pretty consistent with utilities across, agencies across Southern California.
When was the last agreement?
So yes, it was 20 years ago, but it was on August 4th, 2023.
So you said that's the typical agreement. So does that mean that we have to follow that?
It is pretty standard practice, and it's consistent with this.
Do we have to follow that?
No. So to answer your question, we don't. But like I said, that's typical industry standard.
So since we don't have to follow that, can we make it a 10-year agreement?
So there isn't other utilities out there that are providing gas services. So to enter into a 10-year agreement, maybe we would just bring back this before the city council. But we haven't discussed this with SoCal Gas about lowering the term.
Was that entertained?
No, it wasn't considered.
Mr. City Manager?
No, I would simply say that it is a standard, but that doesn't prevent the city from requesting to go back and raise that issue with them and see if there's flexibility and bring that back to you.
We have a representative from SoCal Gas. I do see that this gentleman stepping up to the podium to speak.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, distinguished council. I just thought I would address that question. First, I apologize because I think all of you know Christine Scott, and she had business at another council meeting, so we popped in. To answer the question, and just so you know, the 20-year franchise is absolutely the shortest franchise that we have ever done. Most our franchises are indeterminate. We have pipelines throughout this city, and we've even had people say, well, what if we want to go to somebody else? You can certainly do that, but I mean, if you think about the economics of that, I mean, I couldn't imagine somebody coming in, putting all new pipes in the city and serving gas. I could also take it offline and let you know there is an opportunity for you to buy your own gas, because just as case in point, we get paid for delivering gas to the city. Then we go out and buy gas on the open market, get the best price possible, and then just divide it out. So there are options there, but for, you know, the hundreds of miles of pipe and thousands of miles throughout Southern California, I mean, it's, you know, it just wouldn't make sense to, for example, go month to month, because I don't think we're going to pick up those pipes and move on. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I think, and I'd be guessing here, I think 80% of our franchises, and we represent 253 cities in Southern California, I think 80% of them are indeterminate. You get the right for this partnership we have through the California Constitution. So it's just a normal course of business for you to have natural gas, water, things that communities are required. So I don't know if that answers your question.
But a question, are you doing utilization meetings with the city now to make sure that you don't tear up the streets after we pave them?
Yes, one thing we like to do, and we tell, and again, I apologize because a couple of you know me, but Christine's engaged. I assume you have utility coordination meetings?
Right.
And yes, absolutely.
You do that now?
We attend if you have a utility coordination meeting, we absolutely attend.
Do we have those meetings now, Director Hernandez?
So that was a direction that was given specifically by you. And we have not had our meeting, but these will be scheduled. So you have given the direction to staff, and staff intends to have those meetings.
Can you please advise this mayor and council when those meetings are going to commence? Because I don't want to see, after we pay millions of dollars, our streets being paved, and then the gas company come tear them up.
We also have a street.
And I'm sorry, and we actually applaud that. We've gone to cities that don't do the utility coordination, and we tell them we want to, because just like, and I'm here in the crowd, I don't want anybody mad at me. I don't want a street ruined in our community that was just paved. So absolutely, we want to go to those meetings, we want to coordinate that, and make sure that we're not doing that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Reynoso?
Yeah, just a quick question. I totally understand, obviously, the economics of it and the historical reliance. Gas is gas in America. I wanted to ask you, because I was reading the packet about, I'm very aware of what it takes to create renewable gas, or compressed natural gas, if you will. Is there anything forecasted in the future with SoCalGas that is stepping away or going to a different format of energy? Or you're pretty much set on gas?
No, we are actually going to be part of the future, because it's funny, I was raised in San Gabriel Valley, which is, San Gabriel sits kind of like San Bernardino, right below the San Bernardino Mountains. And when I was a kid, you couldn't see those mountains in the 60s and 70s. Well, natural gas was part of that solution, right? The cleanest burning. Well, we've raised the bar. They want it even cleaner. Well, natural gas, fuel cell, hydrogen, that all involves natural gas, a cleaner fuel, zero emissions. So it would pretty much always, we're natural gas now, but we are moving to low and zero emission opportunities.
No, as many questions as I can ask. There's no like predicted percentages or like a strategic plan that SoCalGas has, like a 20-year plan?
Well,
Or anything
we
like that?
actually have, and again, we could take it offline, and/or I could have Christine email it to you. But we do want to be carbon neutral, our company, by 2045. So we are taking those steps. We started out with many of our vehicles being natural gas vehicles, and now we're even looking at the hydrogen, going from very low emission to zero emission. We even have some electric vehicles. Electrification, solar, it's a combination of tools to get us down to a net zero. So yeah, we have it's called Aspire 2045 to get our company down to net zero, which a lot of companies are doing, or all of us, or your community as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Ibarra?
Thank you, Mayor. So one question, I know they brought a constituent raised the question about the 20 years, why not month to month? And if I'm reading this correctly, and maybe staff can correct me, ordinance number, Municipal Code 1621, it does state in there, and it is accurate, right, that if we want to forfeit the franchise with you guys, we just have to give you within 10 days written demand, correct? If you don't comply?
I don't know if it says that. It is a contractual agreement.
We're not subject to the whole 20 years. We can
No,
forfeit.
there's things in there that you are protected by law. Again, this right of you and us to have this relationship, it's born out of the California Constitution. And of all things, San Bernardino is one of the oldest communities around, and we've been around 160 years. So there are protections in there for you. Yes.
Thank you. I think that was a question that we can forfeit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members? Sir, could you just state your name for the record?
It's Robert Visconti.
Robert, thank you so much.
I'm Regional Affairs Manager. I work with Christine, which again, I know many of you know her, but I will leave my card with the city clerk.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, seeing no further comments, I do have a motion on the table by Mayor Pro Tem Charette.
I'll second.
Councilmember Ibarra seconded. Madam City Clerk?
Okay, just reading the title of the ordinance. Give me 1 second. What I- Okay, it's an ordinance number MC 1621 of the City of San Bernardino, California, granting to Southern California Gas Company Corporation, its successors, and assigns the right, privilege, and franchise to lay and use pipes and appurtenances for transmitting and distributing gas for any and all purposes under, along, across, or upon the public streets, ways, alleys, and places as the same now or may be hereafter exists within said municipality. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem? Yes. Councilmember Reynoso?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next public hearing item is number 23, continuation to January 17th, 2024 of public hearing regarding solid waste rate increases and resolution adopting rates for solid waste services, approving a third amendment to the city's exclusive franchise agreement for integrated solid waste collection, processing and disposal services with Burtech Waste Industries Incorporated, and finding the action exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. I'm opening the public hearing at 8:15 p.m. 23. Could city staff provide presentation on this item?
Yes, this is, yes. Yes, that's correct.
Second.
So I take it council does not want to hear the presentation?
If we're continuing it, do we
Okay. So, Madam City Clerk, do we have any public speakers?
We have one public speaker, but if it's being continued, and then we wouldn't close the public hearing. So
Okay,
we could
so that's how it was written here, so I just want to, so we don't need to go through that whole motion. We're just going to go ahead and call for the votes to
Yes.
move it for January meeting. Okay, Madam City Clerk, please call the votes.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Don't we need to close the hearing and then vote to table? The hearing's been opened, we have to close it and then take the vote on tabling.
But Madam City Clerk, you said we don't need to go through with closing the hearing because there's not a hearing. We're
It's-
moving to
It's being continued.
continued to January
Is that what we're
17th,
doing?
or
Okay.
17th, 2024.
So we didn't need to open the hearing.
So there's no need to open it.
Ms. City Attorney, what are the rules?
Okay, and I asked staff, just for clarification, so staff, you're asking this be continued so that you don't have to republish the notice? Yes, then the correct thing that you could do is you can formally continue this public hearing. It will be posted within 24 hours at your meeting location to inform the public that you have continued it. You may make a motion to continue the public hearing.
Is there a motion to continue this item?
Motion to approve.
Should we?
Motion to continue, I'm sorry.
Should we motion to continue to a date certain so that we don't have to do the
It
218
is,
notice?
in the staff report, there is a date certain. It is listed as January 17th, 2024.
All right, everyone, come back in January, was it? January 17th. Yes.
Please call for the votes.
Okay, just for clarification, the mover I had was Councilmember Surratt,
Yes.
seconded by Councilmember Sanchez.
Correct, but that was assuming this was a public hearing.
Well, that wasn't my assumption, but that's okay. It wasn't.
All you need is to vote to move it, continue it to January 17th, 2024.
I just have a question, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Ibarra.
There's some costs already listed here, proposed rates. We're not going to discuss them until January? We're not going to negotiate with Burtech?
So if you like, I can answer that question.
Director Hernandez.
So the option A has already been approved by the council, and that's what was noticed. So that was part of the discussion. So the reason we selected the 17th is that we intend to bring this back before the city council actually in December to discuss the rate analysis. The actual public hearing will then take place on the 17th, so that if there's any dialogues or discussions, we still have time to make any necessary. So we'll be reviewing the rate analysis as directed by the city council on the two options that have already been presented.
Okay, yeah, because I was hoping we would go through that rate analysis prior and
We are.
a month before.
We are. So the consultant had indicated that they can complete the analysis in 3 months. So we intend to present this at the city council prior to the public hearing.
Okay, so these proposed rates are not final yet until, okay.
So we will be providing an analysis on those rates, at which time the council can choose to either select them or provide further direction.
So really, this item should have not been under public hearing then.
We'll clarify that for a future meeting.
Thank you, please. So the motion is on the floor and seconded by the council member is to continue this item for January 17, 2024. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Reynoso?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. We are going to go back to public comments. Madam City Clerk, please call up the speakers.
Pastor Sharon Green, Daniel Avila, Jeremy Sims, Natalie Rodriguez, Tiara Snowden, Vanessa Perez, Patrice Hicks.
Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Pastor Sharon Green. I'm the founder and executive director of Victor Valley Family Resource Center. We were the agency to first file a lawsuit against the city of Hesperia and won. That lawsuit also generated the lawsuit with the Department of Justice against the same city. I'm here to ask you to repeal this crime-free ordinance. They targeted me with this ordinance. I had no criminal record. I was not committing a crime. I was simply providing housing for the homeless, for those that were exiting from incarceration into homelessness. And they came after me because I moved into the wrong area in the city of Hesperia. According to LA Times research journalists, the comments were on the recording of the city council meetings, calling me a cockroach, saying that I did not belong in their area, saying that they had to get me and my clients back into an area from which I came from. I had been in that city since 1983. I am a taxpayer up there. I am still a taxpayer up there. This ordinance targets those that are dealing with domestic violence, the victims of domestic violence, those that are elderly. If they call more than 2 times for assistance, then they can be evicted. Thank you. Please appeal.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Mayor, Council. My name is Daniel Avila. I'm a staff member for Victor Valley Family Resource Center, Transitional Living. Back in 2016, I was a client at one of our houses, and we were being harassed, and our house was trying to get shut down. Just because people felt that they didn't want probationers, parolees, people of black or brown descent in their community. So we were being harassed, which led to a lot of clients leaving the program, ending up back out on the streets, continuing homelessness. But because of the God we serve, that eviction didn't take place. And so I'm able to stand here today as a success story and ask you guys to repeal the crime ordinance so that the men and women out there that are in search of a new beginning could have housing without no restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Natalie Rodriguez, and I live in San Bernardino. I'm here requesting your yes vote to repeal San Bernardino Discriminatory Multi-Housing Program Ordinance Number MC 1351, because the program does not protect crime victims, domestic violence survivors, family members, or people with disabilities from eviction, encourage landlords to deny housing on basis of criminal background, single out tenants for law enforcement scrutiny, economic and racial profiling, and does not offer fair appeal process. I just real quick just want to let you guys know that I recently just got out from jail. I am on probation. Once I got out, I was homeless. Thank you for the organization that I'm in, or the place that I'm in. I'm no longer homeless, but I do fear that whenever I do get the opportunity to get housing, because of my probation, I don't want to have to get into that problem to where they won't, accept me. So I don't want to go back on the street. I am 36 years old, and it's very hard out there. Plus the, the drugs and the alcohol and all that stuff. I've been sober now, but so yeah, I just don't want to go back to that. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Sims, and I'm here to ask you to repeal crime-free housing ordinance. I've been on parole for 4 years now, after doing 31 years in prison since I was 17 years old. And by the grace of God and the support of rehabilitation programs and having stable housing, I've been able to receive an AA degree, go back to school. I'm going to be going to San Bernardino here pretty soon to get a BA in social work. And stable housing is the most important thing for this success to happen. And without it, I would probably be back in jail, because being on parole, you can't be homeless. So you would end up back in jail. So this ordinance, the thought of somebody being able to say, well, you're getting evicted because your neighbors don't like having parolees around is kind of scary. So I ask you to repeal it and allow me to succeed and become a law-abiding citizen and contribute to society in a good way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Patrice Hicks, and I am saying yes towards San Bernardino Discriminatory Multi-Housing Program, Ordinance MC 1351, and I'm a victim of domestic violence. I took the information to my landlord, and my landlord said, I'm gonna move you to another unit when your lease is up. And she acted like she was moving me to another unit, but actually evicted me. And for me, I was not only mistreated, unsafe, but it caused me and my son to be homeless. And now I'm in a program that's gonna give me self-stabilization and security and help me get another place. But I just wanna put a voice out there for the ones that are dealing with this problem, as domestic violence is a huge issue, and say someone has to support the people that needs to be safer. And so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Tiara Snowden, and I live here, and I grew up here actually in San Bernardino, and I just started working for the county. I got a job, so thank you very much. Very proud of myself. But the thing is that I've worked really hard to get myself into a good place and stay sober. And one of the goals that I had was to get sober. I was able to do that. To get a job, I was able to do that. But I don't want to have this goal of looking for a place to live and not have that opportunity because of my past, where I've been given the opportunity to succeed and no one has judged me in the worst way that they could. And all I want to do is be able to close the door to something that's mine. And if this ordinance would stop me from having that, or anybody else, it's just no good. So I would like to ask I would like to request that you vote yes to repeal San Bernardino Discriminatory Multi-Housing Program Ordinance number MC 1351. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hi there, my name is Vanessa Perez. I am the Executive Director of Time for Change Foundation, and these are some of the ladies that are in our program, our housing program. Time for Change has been in this city for 21 years and beyond. And so, as you can see, we do the work to help get these women off the streets. Once they're out of incarceration, we help them get jobs, we help them become stable and to find stable housing. But they can't do that when they have these criminal backgrounds, and then you have these policies that are in place that are preventing them from moving forward and from becoming stable. And so that's why we're here to request that somebody said it earlier, 100% repeal it, right? We don't want just some of it, we want all of it gone, because we don't need these ordinances in place that are gonna continue to prevent women like this. So you have these ordinances in place that are making people look criminal 100% of the time, but they pay their debt to society, society. They're here now. They're trying to take care of their kids. They're trying to move forward in their lives. And so this hanging over their head is just continuing to discriminate against them and prevent them from becoming stable and to be those productive members of society that we know that they can be and that we're helping them to be. It is possible to have safe and decent housing with people that have criminal histories without preventing them from having access to this. It is possible to screen people in and not screen people out and to see them be successful. And they can't be successful if they're constantly looking for housing and staying in the streets, going back into crime because there's no place that welcomes them. And so we're just asking for 100% repeal so that we can give these people the opportunity to be successful citizens like the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name. Madam City Clerk, was that all the speakers, or are you going to call more?
Pastor Sharon Green. Okay. Lizzie Bancil, Luis Ojeda, Dolores Armstead, Robert Porter, Desiree Sanchez, Ricardo Cisneros, Yasmin Ramirez, Gloria Amaya, and Gina Mireles.
Okay. Please state your name. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robert Porter. I am born in San Bernardino. Positive, right? Damon Alexander, Councilman. Positive things happening. First thing I have to mention, Turkey Trot. I know it's in the future in November during Thanksgiving, but we can register right now at sanbernardinoturkeytrot.com, right? So we can do that. Also, we got Halloween coming up. Now, I don't know if the city actually decorates for Halloween, but each one of you can. So when we go by your house, because I know where most of y'all live, we can see, oh, look at, they got decorations going over there. Positive. Other thing I'd like you guys to do, if you could, please, follow my lead here, and when you walk into a business and you see that they're not keeping up their outside, just give them a little hit. Let them know that you're paying attention. It could do wonders for these parking lots in our city, where a lot of the trash is actually being blown by their landscapers into our streets. So that needs to be corrected as well. I've seen that happen like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, well, at least they got landscapers, but why are you blowing it into our streets? That doesn't make sense. So let's get on these business owners and say, hey, let's keep it nice. And one more thing, me and Councilman Alexander have been working hard to try to get the center divider on Valencia. If we can get that fixed, we've been trying for almost 4 years. Please help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
I'm Cheryl Brown. First of all, I want to say to each of you, thank you for paying attention to us tonight. It's been very refreshing to see that you're at least trying to care. Huh, Teddy? I call Teddy out because we have this relationship going that we won't talk about it. Anyway, I'm here to talk about from St. Paul AME Church. My pastor sent a little note, and I think each of you may have gotten it, or when you get back to your phones, you'll get a chance to get it. Over on Mount Vernon and Goodlet, there seems to be, they're starting to blacktop these just parcels, and then they put big trucks on them. I'm not against trucks, but trucks have their place, and we don't need to have trucks where the community is, and especially where kids are going to school, walking by. That is not safe. So we need to look at what we're doing. We need to fix the roads and our streets. We don't need the parking lots, as I said, but whenever I look at Mr. Charles McNeely, he's the best thing that happened to San Bernardino in a very, very long time. Very long time. I don't mean to embarrass you, but he said, yes, I did. But he's a real consistent OG. He really is. And he knows what he's doing. So you guys need to listen and understand that Charles McNeely has a plan.
Thank you.
And we need it. And be careful who you put in his seat. You need to keep him there for a little longer.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Desiree Sanchez with the Inland Region Housing Justice Coalition and the ACLU of Southern California. You know, we're here asking for a full repeal of the discriminatory housing program, item number 19, but we're asking for you to vote for option number 2. I'd like to use this time to thank our tireless and fearless community leaders who have been working on this for over 6 years. Pastor Sharon Green, who's one of the first people in the nation to force the removal of the policy, targeted her for being Black and assisting housing to underserved communities. Let's also celebrate Toya Vick, who has been taking on these policies also the past 6 years after the police raided her house without a warrant. Please, Queen, stand. Sharon Green, Toya, thank you so much. It's also important to acknowledge the hard work of our founding members, ICUC, COPE, Time for Change, and ACLU of Southern California. Thank you, Councilman Ben Reynoso, for making sure we got on the agenda to be here today. Finally, thank you, Public Interest Law Project and Inland County Legal Services for taking this to court and forcing them to talk to us. It's been a long 6 years. We're here. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Ramirez, and I'm with Inland Equity Partnership, which is a nonprofit organization. We believe in helping the community, the everyday citizen, people who are oppressed. We speak up when others don't have the confidence to do it. In saying that, please repeal San Bernardino's discriminatory multi-housing program, Ordinance MC 1351. This program cannot pass for a few obvious reasons, such as it does not protect crime victims, domestic violence survivors, family members, or people with disabilities from eviction. Encourages landlords to deny housing on basis on criminal backgrounds, single out tenants for law enforcement scrutiny, economic and racial profiling, does not offer fair appeal process. Let's get together and think of something that better suits our residents as a whole unit. I was just sitting here listening to everybody and all these organizations that are out here and helping people, and then this ordinance kind of goes against them being productive. So I just want to say thank you for your time and have a blessed day, Council.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Dolores Armstead. My item is the city manager. The mayor and left side of the dais violated the Brown Act so they could plot to hire a city manager that they could coerce and continue to take the city down. Kerrigan was fired from Merced for withholding important financial documents from that mayor and that council. It was 6-1 vote for his termination. That's the person you're hiring. That is a blaring red flag for this city, that if he's doing it then, he will do it again to this city, especially this city already has problems. And this is the guy you want to hire. This is your best choice. This is the one you guys want to hire. Don't you believe he'll do this again? Or maybe that's what you want. People out there, when it's time to vote, remember what's going on. Then also, who approved the big rig truck parking at Mount Vernon and Goodlet? It didn't come to the planning department, so who approved it? Why is it going on? We don't need big rigs on Route 66. We could do better than that, people. We can do better. Please. What can we do to get rid of it? I don't know how they got approved because it didn't come to planning. So what happened? Why are we having big rigs on Mount Vernon when it should be Route 66? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Ojeda. Nice to see everybody here. So I'm going to talk about item number 20. I don't know why you guys wasting ink on it. I mean, we are trying to get a new city manager, and we're talking about something so big as this. I think this is not the time to do that until we have somebody that is going to be permanent. Honestly, I don't know why we hire Mr. McNeely. I don't have nothing against the man, okay? But I don't see the point in getting an interim. I know why. I've been in politics a little bit. It was money and politics from some of you guys on the dais, which is okay, but it's not okay because of the resident has to pay an extra salary for somebody that's going to be here temporarily. And why do we have an assistant city manager? I mean, that means that we don't have faith in her ability, right? So we had, after Andrea Miller was fired, we have Terry Ledoux for what, a couple of years until we found the new guy? So, and for me, I mean, like I say, if we get a city manager that on his first get hired and right after takes a 3-week vacation, for me, that's a red flag, okay? And that's what this city manager did. Even if he disclosed it, that talks about you guys for hiring. So, no, I don't care who you guys hire, just based on merit. Thank you.
Madam City Clerk, are there any more speakers?
Les, Christian Flores, Dr. Sumney, Andy Lara. Last name is Sumni, Georgia Lacaretzos, Jim Penman, Michael Segura, Miriam Nieto.
Please state your name.
Les, can I get my 3 minutes or 2 minutes? I see the time.
You have a minute and a half.
I thought it was 3 minutes that we get.
No,
So we can
not,
get.
not tonight.
Okay. Hold on. I didn't even. Can y'all start it again? I didn't even start.
Just start.
All right. Well, Theodore Sanchez, what happened to you? We were out there in your ward. The people was getting kicked out. You said that you had a plan. You weren't even out there. The city manager came, and then guy right here came. Where were you at? That's your ward. You should have had some hotel vouchers or something to the Park and Rec. I forgot the lady's name, but thank you for helping those people out. I know she had, and then a lady named Malibu, she also helped as well. Juan, man, enjoy your last year. We're not re-electing you again, so enjoy your moment here, because we don't want you anymore. Fred, to be honest, man, you the oldest person on this council. You should know better, man. Your actions shows different, especially when you were trying to allow a liquor store to be next to 2 other liquor stores on the west side. That's the last thing the west side needs, and you've been here long enough. You should know better than that. And Sandra, I don't even know why you're still here. I think you just follow. If Theodore Sanchez say yes on something, all you guys say yes. If Fred say yes on something, all you guys say yes. It's this left side that it needs to be broken up. And where Chris, hey, good luck to you, brother. Please take this man's spot. Please do your thing once you do get in his spot, please, because this side, left side, is poison to the city. They're stopping everything that Councilwoman Calvin is trying to do for the west side. They're stopping everything. That closed session, they stopped everything. Well, that's all.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Dr. Kosia Sumni, and Mayor of San Bernardino and all representatives. Shalom. I just want to say that I've been in this city, San Bernardino, since 1989, and my organization is Mission Africa Incorporated. What we have seen is cultural diversity is very, very important and encouraging. And so what we did is for the past 10 years, we've taken over 1,000 people, all cultures from this city and around to different countries, especially to Africa, to find out about how they can migrate, not migrate, but get together in different cultures. Some of the things that we've been able to achieve, they troubled young people in this surrounding. When we took them and they came back, I can guarantee you some of them have gone back to school to become lawyers, politicians, business women and men. So I'm here to tell you that don't cut funding against cultural development, because we are in this city and surroundings, we are one, regardless of color. And if we're gonna thrive and help each other be able to live together, let's keep culture as very important, and let's develop our culture. MissionAfricaInc.org. If you wanna travel with us to Africa, Mission Africa Incorporated. Bless you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hey everyone, Christian Flores, community organizer with ICUC, the Inland Regional Housing Justice Coalition, just San Bernardino Coalition. Here to echo the I guess, I lost my train of thought. Support for the repeal of item number 19, the crime-free housing ordinance. This isn't the first time I've been up here. Since the last time the city of Riverside has officially repealed their policy. Highland was one of the first. Now is our time as a city. This is a loopholed, loaded policy that really works against the vulnerable families within our community. And from my understanding, even most of the landlords don't want it because they don't want to pay for another certification. At mobile homes, they're used to taking advantage of people their own way. At apartment complexes, they're used to doing it as well. Not saying that they're not terrible situations that people are living, but this is just another thing that works against them. So by being able to move forward and address the other issues that they have without, making their load all the worse, especially those like senior citizens and folks who are trying to get back on their feet, because once the third 911 call comes around, they're out.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, Council. Good evening. My name is Miriam Nieto. I am a co-director of Just San Bernardino, and I am also here to echo the same thing that a lot of the community members here are saying, is to vote yes to do a full repeal on the San Bernardino discriminatory multi-housing program. As you guys have heard, this is not a program that is supporting our Black and Brown community. This is hurting our Black and Brown community, and people have given you many stories and many examples of how that does it. So please listen to them and really consider that. Now, as a resident of San Bernardino, I have lived in San Bernardino since 2007, and I've also been involved in San Bernardino for a really long time. With that involvement, we have been able to speak to some past city managers. We have seen so many city managers come and go. But let me tell you why McKinley, the city manager that we have right now, has done a great job. He has shown transparency. He has shown actual efforts to work with our community, and he has provided a visual plan for a community to have a better understanding of what the future will look like for our community. So I ask you that no matter who is voted into, or no, I'm sorry, not who is voted, but who is hired for city manager, please keep that plan. Keep the city manager's plan and understand what is said there, and don't let the next city manager just trash it and start from scratch. As we need consistency and stability, that's what that is, an actual plan that says that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Georgia Licarezos. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and fellow members of the community. I come before you again today regarding the stray companion animal crisis that our city continues to deal with and continues to escalate. Another serious issue is pregnant females forced to carry to term, further extending their suffering in the shelter, only for their babies to die. One case in point, kennel ID number A554031, Tippy, a female shepherd brought to the shelter on March 28th that became available for adoption on April 4th, even though the shelter staff were told that she may be pregnant. Tippy was forced to carry to term and delivered 11 puppies on May 24th. I could tell you more about the status of this awful story, but all her babies are now dead. Why was this allowed to happen? Why aren't we spaying and terminating these litters before they are born? Of course, this sounds horrific, but what's more humane? Terminating a pregnancy or killing them after they are born? It is imperative that we are proactive and implement and expedite measures to address these types of situations, among others, effectively, along with enforcing our mandatory spay and neuter laws. I may be standing here alone today, but I represent a collective plea for solutions that will help save these lives, protect our community, and ensure that our city continues to move forward for both all humans and animals alike. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name.
Hello, City Council and Mayor. My name is Michael Segura. Most of you know me. I just want to first start with something positive. Robert Porter forgot to mention Roosevelt Bowl this Saturday, September 9th. 5 p.m. the doors open, 7 p.m. the concert starts. There's also going to be a petting zoo for kids, music instrument petting zoo, so kids can explore music. Very, very awesome thing. Roosevelt Bowl is also going to go through some renovations, which is going to be amazing. With the rest of my time, I just want to echo what all these great orgs have been saying. So I grew up with ICUC. I know COPE, I work with them now. I work with Time for Change as well. They're amazing orgs, and if they're saying to repeal this discriminatory housing, you guys should listen, you know. To not repeal it would be criminal, and you guys should be out on the streets. That's how I feel about it. But yeah, we don't need to discriminate. Pretty much don't put people on the streets. I have criminals in my family who've gotten out, and luckily our family's big enough where we had the support in our own family to give them opportunities. But not everybody has that. Not everybody has families that are together. So really think about that. Really think about where what you're doing for San Bernardino by not repealing that. And lastly, the city manager. I know I mentioned it to you last time at the last meeting you guys had, but just make sure you guys hire someone who's good, not someone who has a bad past. And lastly, just follow his plan. I know he's going to go over it on Tuesday, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Andy Lara, and I just had a couple of points I wanted to talk about. Mostly, I wanted to talk about council benefits. I think that we need to revise the charter so that we can talk about your benefits. I don't think that you guys should be allowed to miss as many meetings as you do without a dock and pay. When I don't go to work, I don't get paid. And you guys can be considered part-time employees as well. I've never heard of part-time employees getting full benefits and a car allowance. And if you don't come to the meeting, you should not only not get paid, but not get your car allowance for that week. Where you have your car, why aren't you here, right? You guys have 2 meetings a month to come to, but you miss on your birthday. You know a year in advance when your birthday is. Can't you reschedule your birthday party? Can't you bring your cake here with us? So we need to repeal your pay, especially because you guys are operating against the will of the voters. A couple months ago, Sanchez and Charette wanted to install liquor stores despite the city's recommendation. When they asked you to argue for it, you couldn't, so you backed down. But you're routinely operating against the interests of the city. Additionally, we need to repeal Measure S. It's not fair that I pay an additional 1% of tax compared to Rialto or Redlands. And what am I paying for? These streets are in disarray. Someone asked, does San Bernardino decorate from Halloween? Yes, we do decorate by not doing anything for the city. The city's falling apart. It's a horror show. And you guys gave bonuses to city employees. I hope directors didn't get any, and I hope police officers didn't get any. And thank you so much. Why is the city closed on Friday, by the way?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any more public speakers? I think there are.
Last call for Jim Penman, Dominic Antunes, and Dr. Sumni. There was 2 Dr. Sumnis.
Thank you.
We have,
Despite the fact that this is the last council meeting before October 7th, which is a date we're all going to remember, we've been hearing a lot tonight about city manager. Well, I have in my hands a document that was apparently leaked from closed session because it hasn't been made public yet. And I'm speaking, of course, about this document that announces the 10th annual rendezvous back to Route 66, which will occur the first Saturday in October. And this beautiful flyer depicts the most beautiful street in San Bernardino, Mount Vernon. Now, those of us who grew up on the west side know it as either La Verde or Mount Vernon. But here it is. It shows the Santa Fe Depot. It shows the Santa Fe Whistle, Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, Mita's Cafe, and the venerable 100-year-old Home Neighborly Service. We want everybody to show up for this event Saturday, October 7th, the first Saturday in October. It is San Bernardino's seminal event. It should have been publicized far more than it has been by the city, since not only is it presented by the San Bernardino Area Chamber of Commerce, but it is co-sponsored by the city of San Bernardino. I am, of course, here today at the direction of my better half, President and CEO of the San Bernardino Area Chamber of Commerce. Most of you know me simply as Judy's husband, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We have another speaker. Please state your name.
Gina Mireles, President and founder of Mexican American Mothers Advocating for Students. The last time I was here, it was because I was asking to use this building, this particular space, for a community meeting involving San Bernardino City Unified School District. I have been trying to reserve this room since June, and for some reason I'm being roadblocked. I called the Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Education, the Attorney General, and all of them feel that the city is putting themselves in litigation that involves the school district. Children are the only ones entitled to a peaceful environment and to a quality education within the system. Currently, the principal at Lincoln Elementary has taken it upon herself to slander me and defame me. Dr. Funches down the street has done the same thing, claiming that I'm threatening him with the Black Angels, the Cucamonga Kings, and the West Side Verdugos. I don't know anybody from San Bernardino that's gang affiliated. I grew up in the beautiful city of Ontario that's the total opposite of this city, and the Black Angels were my overprotective brothers. I had a very healthy relationship, and I was married to a Cucamonga King for 25 years, and he was an excellent father. So I'm here today wanting to reserve this area on September 16th over the symbolism of the Mexican holiday.
Thank you very
Can
much.
you please talk to Mr. Neely?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I think we have one more.
Okay, so let me just read these
Okay,
into the record.
read
They
the
were
names,
called
please.
earlier.
Okay.
They have not come up. Gloria Amaya, Ricardo Cisneros, Lizzie Van Sil.
Okay, if you heard your name called, that'll be the last call, I think. We've called them 2 or 3 times. You, sir, if you'd state your name, please, and give us your comments.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Kojo Somni from Ghana, West Africa. I came to California in 1989, drove cab for 7 years, and by the grace of God, I got my master's, doctorate, and PhD here. While I was driving a cab, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of homeless people and youth on drugs, and I had a chance to talk to most of them. I'm back in town with IEACC, the Inland Empire Christian Churches, and I have a suggestion that this is a nice country and a nice city. Concerning the youth and the homeless, I see a lot of homes and buildings that are sitting. I want to propose and suggest that we should build a first-class trade, technical, vocational schools, at least 1 or 2, to train young men who are walking on the streets, because this country has a lot to offer for those who have skills. And the many people who are coming to this country, when they come here, they focus, and because of skills, they get good job. So I submit to you that let's build a first-class technical and vocational school in San Bernardino to empower the youth and unemployed people in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have one speaker on Zoom, Jennifer Tilton. If you can please unmute your mic and address the council. You have 1.5 minutes.
Hello, City Council and Mayor. I'm here really to reiterate a lot of the comments that the community has already made. I think it's got to be clear to you by now that you have to repeal the crime-free housing ordinance. I'm speaking on behalf of the IE Fair Chance Coalition, which is a coalition of people directly impacted by the criminal justice system, many of whom live in San Bernardino and surrounding cities and have consistently struggled to find housing and jobs, even if they have completely changed their lives and are now incredibly positive forces in the community. I think you probably know that you have to change this law, otherwise you're liable for a lawsuit that you will lose. But also I think you really have to go further than just fully repealing this law and really look at every aspect of city housing policy and the ways it excludes people with criminal records. I was really struck at our last meeting when we were all together when Fidel Chagola spoke about how he had gone to an open house for a new affordable housing development that the city had helped create in San Bernardino, and had been explicitly told at that meeting that he was not welcome because of his felony conviction. Fidel is like a founding, solid member of the community that I would want as my neighbor, and that anybody should want as your neighbor, that would only add to the community. And even the city's own policies and practices are excluding folks who completely changed their lives. And so just strong urge that, you have to change this policy, but you've got to go further. Thank you.
Is that to conclude?
I have one ADA accommodation email from
Okay,
Mr. Brown.
please read it, thank you.
I will read whatever the time allows for.
Whatever time allows for.
Yes. So our city was built on a charter that gave most of the power to the mayor, and on November 8th, 2016, the citizens voted in a new charter to rid the city of a strong mayor who would sometime ignore citizens' input and do what he or she wanted to do. Our hope in voting for a charter change was to have council that would be more in tune with and understanding the people and spends its time making policy, allowing a professional manager to run the city. Before I go over my allotted time, I am in support of item 20 on the agenda. The strategic initiative put together by Mr. McNeely and staff gives us and you a roadmap to follow. With the proper leadership and follow through, we can be successful. All you must do is make policy decisions that are compatible with what is laid out by your staff. First, concerning your last meeting, while I was watching the special meeting on August 28th, I thought, why are some council members ignoring the public speakers when they are offering advice on selecting a new city manager? Then, Dolores Armstead strolled up to the microphone and called some of you out. I found myself thanking her because they represent Black citizens in the city too. For those council members who think you can ignore us, let me share this information with you. In Ward 1, there are 3,702 Black citizens, and Ted, you only won your seat with 814 votes. In Ward 2, there are 4,432 Black citizens, and Sandra, you won with just 795 votes. And Fred, there are 4,590. So all that time permits, the full comment has been provided to you. We also received written communication from Marissa Yeager, stating she supports item 20, and Sarah Robles, her comment was regarding the city manager recruitment.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. You're welcome. At this time, we move on to the city manager report. City manager, please proceed with the city manager report.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I will be very brief. One thing I'd like to start out with is a story about Diane, and this is a homeless success story. The first day in which the homeless outreach team was out in the community, they met Diane. And Diane had been living on the street for approximately 2 years. Diane was open to services, worked with the homeless outreach team, and within a short period of time, she found a spot at the local Super 8 motel, working with a case manager for several weeks. Earlier in August, she got the keys to a brand new, or her very own studio apartment. She and her puppy now have a place that they can call home. It's a success story of the homeless outreach team and Diane, who was willing to jump through several hoops in order to accomplish her goals. We're very proud of her and the work of the homeless outreach team here in San Bernardino. Last week, the Planning Commission approved the development of a new 114-room extended stay Everhome Suites Hotel. Everhome Suites is a new brand that is launched by Choice Hotels. Oh, I'm sorry. That is a brand of Choice Hotels, which includes Cambria Hotels, Comfort Inn, Clarion Hotels, and Quality Inn. The site will be on Harriman Place near Hospitality Lane, and it will be anticipated to be open in about 12 months. If you have not got it in the mail yet, it is coming very soon. It is already online, the English and Spanish version of the Parks Activity Guide. This includes all of the activities occurring at the senior centers, the parks, the community centers over the next 4 months. It also includes community events, as Robert Porter said, the Turkey Trot, as well as the Ho-Ho Parade and the Miracle on Court Street, which will be upon us faster than we think. It was also mentioned that this Saturday, the free concert by the San Bernardino Symphony at the Roosevelt Bowl at Paris Hill Park is taking place. Gates open at 5 o'clock. There are going to be all sorts of activities, from an instrument petting zoo to a sip and paint to all sorts of things, and the highlight will be the performance by the symphony, along with several vocalists performing standards. Hope you can make it, because it's going to be a great evening under the stars this Saturday, starting at 7 o'clock. And the last thing I wanted to mention was next Monday is 9/11, and so there will be a number of events around town and throughout the region remembering the events of September 11th of 2001. But I did want to point out one particular, and this is the RSVP program, the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. They are doing a day of service on Monday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the 5th Street Senior Center. They will be planting trees and other greenery, assembling picnic tables, and unveiling a new 9/11 memorial mural. So hopefully you can come and attend and join them in remembering the events of September 11th, as well as helping to make the 5th Street Senior Center a better place for our local seniors. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to consent calendar. Before I start that, Council, would you like a 5-minute recess, or would you like to move on, continue to move on? Okay, not a problem. Just want to be mindful if you guys are restless. But okay, we're moving on to the consent calendar, items 2 to 18. Do we have any polls from the council, or do I have a motion to pass the consent calendar?
Motion to move the balance.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'd like to pull 2 items.
Okay, Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes, I'd like to pull item 5 and 13.
Any other polls? Seeing none, I do have a motion to, can we motion to
Yeah, motion to approve that
move
balance.
the remainder of the items? And there's a second by Mayor Pro Tem Charette. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso.
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin.
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
The remaining consent items pass unanimously.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez, items number 5 and 13.
Yeah, if I can direct staff and the public's attention to the item that reads out the new residency policy for elected officials and candidates for elected office. There are categories under Section 2, the residency requirements. So I would like to strike from, is it D? Let me see. Utility bills, so C, subsection C. If we can go down, if we can strike everything past, if there is an agreement with a landlord or other legal entity that the tenant is not responsible for the utility bills, the candidate must submit a notarized affidavit signed by the landlord or other legal entity's authorized legal representative verifying under penalty of perjury that the landlord or other legal entity is responsible for paying the utility bill. So the reason I want that struck is because we want to make sure there are no loopholes in having, for lack of a better term, and I don't mean this to disrespect anyone, but to have any carpetbaggers move into districts and be able to just go to a landlord and say, hey, I'm going to sign the rental agreement with you, as well as you will sign an affidavit attesting to the fact that I pay you for utilities. And that one document would be enough to prove residency under this agreement. So what I would want to do is first strike that in, I guess it's subsection C, and as well as require that they be differing, because we're required 2 subsections to prove residency. I would want them to be different. Otherwise, people can tack on those 2 proofs from option C, or subsection C, subsection B, subsection A, subsection D. And my motive with this is to ensure that we close all the loopholes again so that we don't have people who suddenly move into a neighborhood and then want to run for office in a particular district. I think the residents are ill-served by someone who just decides out of political expedition to go into a district and run for office. We need to have people who genuinely live in those neighborhoods running as candidates, and then, if elected, to be real residents of that part of town. So those are the loopholes I would want to close. So again, first one is to strike everything past, do you want me to read out the line?
Please.
Again? I just read the whole thing.
I couldn't find my stuff. report.
Oh, okay. Did you have it now?
Councilmember Sanchez, can you please put it in motion form then, so then we are then able to either second
Yeah,
it and
yeah.
vote?
So I'd like to make a motion to have staff strike from the residency policy everything under, so it's section 2, residency requirements. Go to section 2, and then go down to C, subsection C, utility bill, and then go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines where it starts, if there is an agreement with a landlord or other legal entity. Do you see that? So strike everything past that, because otherwise you can just get a landlord who says, oh, yeah, he also pays me utilities, and I'm signing on to the rent agreement. So again, we want to prevent that sort of loophole. And then require, maybe we can include a line that requires that they be different subsections as opposed to allowing a candidate to use one subsection, whether it's A, B, C, or D, require 2 different subsections so that, again, we can close that loophole and we don't get a candidate who can find that. Yeah, so they have to be, so if you're using a utility bill, you can't use 2 utility bills, right? You can't use water and electric as your 2 proofs of residency. You have to use a utility bill, for example, and then use maybe B, which is proof of California motor vehicle registration, right? Or if you're going to use B, you can use A, but you can't use 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, or 2 D's. Can we just include that and make that minor amendment and approve this?
Second.
Yeah, but they can be 2 of the same category. Yeah.
Understood.
So that would be my motion. Is there a second? Okay.
Madam City Clerk, do you have that clear motion?
Yes.
Okay. Please call for the vote.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, the amendments passed unanimously.
Thank you. Item 13, Councilmember Sanchez.
Yeah, and this one should be a little more simple. I know that staff is recommending $5,000 for full-time, to also include water department, and then $2,500 for part-time. I would like, go ahead. Yeah, but that's what staff is including as the resolution. So what I would like is to make a friendly amendment that we do $5,000 across the board. So $5,000 for both full-time and part-time. And again, I can't emphasize enough to include all employees in our water department. So we have about 184 part-time employees. Many of them, do work in excess of the part-time hours, but they are categorized as a part-time employee. And the last thing we want to do is create, what I would want to do is I would want to make it $5,000 across the board. The fiscal impact is minimal, considering that we have 184 part-time employees, and they already, per this resolution, would have $2,500. We would tack on $2,500 to 184, roughly 184 employees. It would add less than $500,000 to the total cost. So that would be my motion.
And I'll second that motion with a comment.
Yes.
My comment is that I support this idea, and I got some calls about why I voted the way I did the last time. and it had nothing to do with anything amounts. It had everything to do with equity and everybody being treated the same. Part-timers went through the COVID period just like the full-timers did. And I just felt when we couldn't treat the part-timers the same as we were treating all the rest of the employees, that was why I voted no. So I'll be happy to vote yes on this to give those, give that, it was called, a couple of times called hero pay for working through that difficult time, as long as we're treating everyone equally, including the part-timers. And so I will make that, I will second that motion.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, can you explain the fiscal
Checking with the
impact?
finance director, and she says it still keeps us within the limit that was available, and the total amount is $5 million, roughly 5.4 total. Yes, yes, she has the total.
Can our finance director come up to speak on this, please?
Yeah. No, 5.
Yes, yeah. You all had approved $5.5 million as a maximum, and with the additional, it adds about $450,000, so it brings us in at about $5,370,000. So it remains underneath the $5.5 million that you had authorized. So, yes, it's still within the amount that you authorized.
And again, I would put myself in the shoes of people who, I mean, we have part-timers throughout our city government. I mean, we have people who are in our police department who are part-timers, who work shoulder to shoulder with people who do make a little more because they are categorized as full-time as opposed to them who are part-timers. But they worked through COVID, they went through these emergencies, and I really wouldn't want to create that toxicity in a workplace where these people have to work together. And I know that sometimes there is friction when there's this feeling of I'm underappreciated or I'm being thought of as less than my counterpart who I work shoulder to shoulder with. I would want to bypass that sort of, friction in our workplace. So that's why I would propose this.
Director Soren, did you have something to add?
No, thank you. Just because the item was pulled, so I came up in case there was any question specific to me.
All right, so there is a motion and second to amend this item. Can we call for the votes?
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Reynoso?
Good job. Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to discussion items. Item number 19.
Real quick, I know there's not a lot of people here, but I want to thank our Parks and Rec director. I wanted to make sure it went through first. I know we have one more formal adoption, but the Dodgers have sent in their letter of intent to redo Blair Park's baseball fields. And I want to shout out our Parks and Rec director, the Dodgers, and Yamava for making it happen. I'll wear the blue one at the next meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember. Discussion item number 19, regular ordinance amending or repealing crime-free housing ordinance number MC 1351. Could we begin with staff's presentation?
Yes. Good evening, honorable mayor and members of the distinguished members of the City Council. For your consideration is we actually have two options for you tonight. I know you've heard a lot of public testimony regarding the crime-free multi-housing program. I don't know if you'll recall, we also received those comments during the housing element cycle, and we just recently, last week, entered into a stipulated judgment regarding a number of items in our housing element. One of the components was the crime-free multi-housing program, and that is why we've provided two options for you. As part of that stipulated judgment, under the discussion, there's a whole list of items that needed to be removed from the crime-free multi-housing ordinance. The two components that our code enforcement and police department staff recommended continuing are the inspection of the rental units, exterior inspection only, and the 8-hour training for the managers and property owners. Those are the only two components that are recommended to remain. And with that, we are also proposing a name change, calling it the Rental Housing Program Maintenance Standards, as opposed to the Crime-Free Multi-Housing Program. So with that change, it takes away the crime-free multi-housing portion and many of the concerns, I believe, from the community. With that, I did also want to note that with the inspections, there is a fee, and there are fees for the 8-hour training. The total hit to our general fund budget, should you repeal it completely with no more fees, would be $120,000 a year, and that does go to code enforcement staff for the inspections and the classes. So with that, we have two options for you, and our first option is to consider, and this is the one that staff does recommend, is to introduce by reading title only and waive further reading of the ordinance of MC 1619, and it is to amend Chapter 1527 of Title 15.
Point of order, please.
Yes.
I think those are mislabeled. If you look at the attachment, the resolution, it's 1620. That's essentially, and it's not even a revision of the crime-free housing. This is almost a program to replace the crime-free housing.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's a maintenance. It's more like of a maintenance program for multi-housing units. But am I correct on resolution? It's 1620. Because if you look at the original, if you look at the resolution, the attachment, it's 1620. That's the revision, which it really isn't. It's a replacement of the crime-free housing.
Councilmember, next time please be recognized before
all right.
speaking. Thank you.
I think there's two ways to view it, and I think one is a replacement. The amendment is because there's components, those components are included in the ordinance right now. So if you look at the actual ordinance, it keeps some of the definitions, it keeps the mandatory participation in the program, and then the notices of inspection and the violation. It keeps some components, and the reinspection, it just does not include any of the other items that are in the ordinance.
Mayor, if I could.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yeah, if we can just deal with the housekeeping right now. It looks like in the staff report and in the actual ordinance, you have the numbers mixed up. Because in the staff report, you have 1620 as repeal, whereas the actual ordinance says 1620 is the new rental maintenance program. Can we get a clarification on that? Otherwise, you're going to get half the council voting one way.
It's ordinance.
You just, all you got to do is pull up the draft ordinance, number MC 1620. And in the title, it says, amending Chapter 15.27 of the title regarding rental housing program maintenance standards.
Correct.
So if we can just clarify that, because the crowd out there and half the council here thinks that 1620 is repealing, which it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a type,
It's a, yes.
We're gonna go fix it. Do you understand what he's saying?
Yes, I think so.
So if you have an ordinance that repeals, the title of the ordinance should say ordinance number repealing. And that one says amending.
So, what I'm hearing you say, and my apologies, this was a last-minute rush right before the agenda where we worked with the legal team on preparing this. So it would be repealing the ordinance and, what are we doing?
If it's straight repeal, it would just be repealing.
Just repeal the ordinance and then enact a new ordinance?
Is that what that ordinance is doing?
No. It's amending the ordinance to keep those provisions.
You have two options, right?
The numbers, just the numbers are, you mix the numbers up. And so you're still presenting the staff as the ordinance that replaces, you're presenting as the ordinance that repeals. You're getting the numbers wrong.
Oh, you're right. Okay, I see. My apologies.
Councilmember, are you referring to the header right here? on the resolution?
I'm referring
Yes.
to the number, the
No, right
number,
here.
the number.
It's on the
ordinance.
header,
Yeah.
right here.
On the header, yes.
Because it says MC 1620,
Yes,
and this resolution does say it's amending,
yes, yes.
so. Noted. Thank you, Councilmember, for calling it out.
So with that, there's the two options at the council's pleasure.
Councilmember Reynoso, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Charette.
So to clarify on what Councilman Sanchez just asked, if we were to motion for number 2, is that repealing MC 1351?
Yes, it's repealing everything.
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation number 2. We'll just leave it on the floor there.
Mayor Pro Tem Charette, followed by Councilmember Calvin.
All that we heard here tonight from some very concerned people, and I understand their concerns with this program, we're by going with item number 1, or number 1, we will change the name of the program, and we will continue to do inspections, and there'll be no impact really to the tenants, correct? I mean,
Correct.
it's going to be really, I see it as to their advantage, because we're going to be training the owners, the managers, the landlords in how to deal with their job and do it appropriately according to the law.
Correct.
And we receive some revenue from that.
We do.
And then it's also, what I say, the training, and then the other maintenance is, I mean, not maintenance, but the inspections, is inspection the physical building outside, which we then have the ability to up the standards, keep the standards higher if we're inspecting those buildings, and if they're in disrepair or have some problems, we've got some teeth to make sure that they're doing it. So repealing the entire thing doesn't make complete sense to me. So I would make a substitute motion that we go with item number 1, and then we will be getting rid of, by doing so, we will be getting rid of a lot of the things that these people have been concerned about. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
That's correct. That's how staff has
And
reviewed
still
it.
not impact the revenues or the inspections or the training for the landlords, nothing to do with the tenants.
Correct.
So that'll be my motion.
Councilmember Calvin, followed by Councilmember Alexander.
Yes, I have a question. So are we not able to apply the inspections still to a full, if we're fully repealing, because we cannot still, we don't do those inspections a lot as far as I'm concerned in the first place. We can see that throughout the entire city that there are multiple apartment complexes that look like they have been abandoned, that they are operated by folks who don't truly care about their property. And still, the constituents that live in those properties are faced with this dilemma of this multiple housing ordinance being applied to them and they being removed from the property, right? So my question is, are we not able, with repealing this, what stipulations can we put in place? What policies can we then put in place? Because we still want owners to keep their properties clean and keep the properties cleaned up. So this is what we would want them to do. So are we able to do this?
So the next step, should the council choose that path, would be to direct staff to bring back a rental inspection program that would include the multifamily units, the exterior inspections. And then if you want to continue with the class, we would bring that back.
Which other cities do have, correct?
Yes.
So am I not able then, well, I'll let the vote go on. I'd like to second Councilmember Reynoso's motion.
Councilmember Alexander.
I'm trying to figure out what's the difference here, whether we repeal it all or whether we tell you to come back with the same thing, because I want the landlords to have the education so they know what the tenants' rights are. I want them to have that education. I do not want that gone, right? And I want inspections for those landlords who are not holding up their end of the bargain for tenants, right? So I'm trying to figure this out. What's the difference?
There is no difference. This is what we're proposing with the revisions, the amendment to the ordinance.
So one way or the other, if someone says we want to repeal it all, and then with the provision of the class and the
Inspections,
and the inspection to make sure that the landlords are doing it right, all you're going to do is come back to us
With the
30,
same
45
thing.
days from now, and we're just going to do this all over again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ibarra, followed by Councilmember Reynoso.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so I know we're talking about maintaining properties. I have also concerns on that. I've heard from other residents that the moment they complain about the substandard living condition of the apartments, those landlords tend to also try to kick them out of the housing. That's another issue that I'm aware of that's going on in the city. However, we do have to hold those landlords accountable, especially the big ones that are monopolizing around the city, raising rents without maintaining their properties. But I want to recommend that if we haven't done it, look at the current state laws, make sure that we are abiding by those state laws. I think there is a state law saying that we cannot discriminate people or do background checks for rentals, but I'm not sure if that's still current right now.
That is not included in this amended provision.
Okay, because I know a lot of the speakers talked about being discriminated against because of their criminal background.
And we've taken out any references to that within
Okay.
the ordinance.
And then the other one, I'm all for the educational part for the landlords, but we do have to make sure that they abide by the educational aspect of it, because I know currently not all the landlords are under the crime-free housing. They're not paying their fees, they're not abiding by it either way. So we got to make sure that we are protecting our residents, following our laws, and holding those big landlords accountable for having multiple properties and not maintaining them. Because I know people that have mold, black mold in the properties or leaking roofs. There's one in my block, for example, that has a bad roof that hasn't been updated. Code enforcement doesn't have the capacity to go inspect them currently. So just a lot of concerns that I still have. I think we should definitely be bringing it back, look at the current state laws and listen to what the community has said and what I've shared, because that's what's going on in our city, and it's unfortunate that they're going after or kicking out victims or people who are trying to change their life. Those will be my only comments, but definitely bring this back for some further consideration. You guys want to take out the crime-free verbiage, right? I'm okay with it.
Correct. With this ordinance, we've taken out all references to crime-free, and we've only kept in the inspection component for the exterior of the buildings and the 8-hour class.
Okay, yeah, because we don't, I just don't want to see the landlords take it against the tenants who do raise their concerns.
So the complaints that, if a tenant were to call in and complain, we've taken out that component from this program completely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Reynoso?
Yeah, and I appreciate your comments, Councilwoman Ibarra, because the first thing, when I'm hearing these questions, I know we don't have the full capacity of code enforcement, but it's clear as day that this is a role of code enforcement, and so it wouldn't need to be in this. But I'm from San Bernardino. The city's getting better. We've all done a lot of work to make the city better, especially the staff. But to think, to Councilwoman Ibarra's point, to think that landlords who are pressured because of a tenant's, the dilapidated status of their building, even when they allow someone in. Not everyone, I can't say that. I personally have, in the past, rented a place that I was unaware was totally dilapidated until things started to go wrong, until it rained. And a lot of the times, people don't know that when they go to rent these homes, because they need a home. And we're talking about mitigating homelessness. And so when we're talking about this, landlords will absolutely, in a place like San Bernardino, do that. And don't take this as a personal attack. I want to explain why I'm voting for a full repeal. Because landlords will absolutely, we have so many slumlords in the city still, unfortunately, absentee landlords, and they will, in some cases, undoubtedly to me, they will kick out the tenant, and then we're contributing to homelessness. And so I want to end here and remind the council that we had an incredible opportunity, and it's coming back. Literally, if they were subject to that, to being kicked out without cause, unjustly, we had the opportunity to provide pro bono legal services, tenant rights to people to do this. We have to do the right thing here. So a repeal isn't really going, what I'm saying here ultimately is a repeal isn't going against everything that we've done or everything good about this program. It's just putting a little more pressure on what we already know is a department that maybe needs more staff, for sure, code enforcement, but that also needs the support to do their job. And so that's the conversation we need to be having. This is separate to me than a repeal, because we hear revenue up here, and a lot of people, they tense up, like losing money. How about we do the right thing instead by holding code accountable, bumping up the code enforcement staff, making the salary maybe a little more attractive, and then we don't have to worry about this stuff. And so I want to end there, and I have a second to my motion to do the full repeal on item 2. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak, but I'll leave it there.
Any other comments? Councilmember Figueroa?
Thank you. Just help me understand a little bit better here. Are the inspections tenant initiated, or are these automatic yearly or every 3
They're
years?
automatic annual inspections.
So it wouldn't even matter if, so it's not, the inspection would happen, it's not like the tenant's going to be targeted because the tenant reported something. These are
Correct.
just going to be automatic.
Automatic routine
Inspected.
inspections every
Okay.
year.
But when are those inspections going to be started? When is the city of San Bernardino going to be enforcing those policies or adopting one? Because it's just not happening. So for us to be able to say, one day we're going to get there while yet allowing some of these policies to still lie in place, that doesn't work either. So we have to be working on that simultaneously to understand that if the inspections are not happening, then we are still putting the tenant in the same predicament. And I think that needs to be our focus as we are working this policy out. And identifying why we have not. Why don't we? Is it code enforcement, not enough employees? Is it that we can't hire fast enough now because we are up to 20? And I just want to know, if the program is not solidified at this particular moment in time, it needs to get solidified as we are repealing this. And to inspect just the outside, that, is a little bit of an issue for me as well. We have to inspect the inside also.
So the program is working right now. Code enforcement does inspect the multifamily properties. They're at different levels. There might be violations. There's fines related to not maintaining the property. And then there's some properties that are much more challenging that we have to start initiating next steps with legal, where we're not able to reach the property owner, or they're just, unresponsive. So the program is in operation now. We actually have been doing it all year. We can provide an update on, the complexes that we've actually inspected, but code enforcement is actively inspecting the complexes.
Councilmember Alexander?
So since they're being enacted now, if this should be repealed, will that come to a halt?
Yes.
Thank you.
Why would we stop inspecting homes?
Members.
Because it's part of this ordinance that requires us to do the inspections at this time.
So there's two motions I heard. There's the original motion to repeal. Is there a second for that? Councilmember Calvin. And then there's a substitute motion to go with number 1, staff's recommendation. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Councilmember Ibarra. Madam City Clerk?
This is for the vote on the substitute motion to amend the chapter. Councilmember Sanchez.
Can you read the substitute motion, please?
Councilmember Charette, motion to approve recommendation number 1, which is introduced, read by title only, and waive further reading of ordinance number, we'll just stick to sending, amending chapter 15.27 of title 15 of the San Bernardino Municipal Code regarding a rental housing program maintenance standards.
All right, so this is what's funny, is you have the council member who's for the maintenance program who voted against that. And you have Councilmember Reynoso, who wants to repeal the whole thing, who just voted or made the motion for the amended program. And it's all because of the numbers.
No,
So we have.
Councilmember, yes, so the ordinance document just needs to be corrected on the header.
Yes.
No, because look, if you go with option 1, you're going with 1619, which is to repeal and have nowhere in the municipal code you'll have anything about crime-free or maintenance programs. And that's what Councilmember Charette just motioned for. Now,
Mayor.
Councilmember Reynoso, who wants to repeal the whole thing, voted for 1620, which amends the crime-free housing program. So you guys just reversed yourself. That's what I was saying in the beginning.
Understood, but Madam City Clerk, can you explain?
Yes. So,
Please.
Councilmember Sanchez, when Councilmember Reynoso made his motion, he was very specific and said option 2. To avoid any confusion, I'm using the words amend and repeal. Amend is for option 1, which is what Councilmember Charette motioned. Repeal is option 2, which is what Councilmember Reynoso motioned. And whichever ordinance is adopted, tomorrow when we are processing the ordinances for adoption, we will make that administrative correction on the numbers.
Okay. Well, I'll just make there's a motion, an alternate, or there's a substitute motion. I'll make an alternate motion to go with, to have the council adopt and waive further reading of MC 1620, which amends the crime-free housing from crime-free housing to a maintenance program. That is my motion. No,
Mayor,
Jesus Christ, it's not that
if-
difficult
Madam
to
City
understand,
Clerk.
people. Gee.
Just to avoid any further confusion, I'm recommending that we just stick to using amending or repealing.
All right, you want to go with
And then
that?
we'll make the administrative correction.
So throw out option 1 and option 2, because those are all screwed up.
No, option 1 is amending the chapter. Option 2 is repealing the chapter.
I'm sorry, it's not you. Staff should have figured this out from the beginning. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Sanchez?
What are we voting on?
Amender?
There's, yes.
I will vote to amend.
Okay, and then staff will adjust accordingly on the document so to remove any confusion. There's just a header piece number that's causing confusion.
It's not the header. It's not the header. It's the options as they're presented here.
So,
So why don't you make up
Madam
new
City
options?
Attorney?
Why don't you make up new options? Why don't we say option number 1 is to amend, and option number 2 is to repeal? Why don't we just say that? Right, she's trying to say the same thing, but just option number 1 is to amend, option number 2 is to repeal entirely.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes, Director Lanier, I just have a question. This is just really bothering me. Why did option 1 remove all the verbiage that we would like to have removed, or that you were suggesting be removed, but yet also remove the inspections? It did not?
It did not.
Be
okay,
careful
I just
about
wanna make sure.
referring to the options.
Okay.
Be careful, because
It's kind of, everything we've removed was based on the stipulated judgment, all the verbiage that we needed to remove. The only 2 items we were recommending to keep in the ordinance was the inspection of the exterior of the apartments.
On the,
building-
sorry, go ahead.
Exterior of the apartments and the class, the 8-hour class. Everything else gone.
That's the amended.
Yes,
So on the amended, inspections remain.
correct,
Full repeal, no inspections.
correct.
Why on full repeal, no inspections?
Because we're repealing the entire ordinance that provides the opportunity, or direct staff to actually do the inspection.
So with that being the case, what is code's job then if a tenant were to call and say, my roof is leaking, and the landlord refuses to fix it or has not fixed it in a timely fashion? What does code still respond to a call of that nature?
If there is if we get an inquiry or a request from a tenant or anyone about substandard housing, code enforcement will go out.
Thank you.
If it's a violation of the code.
Only if it's a violation of the code.
There-
That is a good point, and they would clarify if it is a violation of the
So
code.
you could have some maintenance problems in a building that might not per se be a violation of our municipal code. So if there was some type of maintenance situation, like I don't think we have a section in our municipal code that says mold in the bathroom is a violation of the code. I could be wrong, but I don't think we have that. If you have an inspection program, you could end up with someone who's in violation of your code because the inspection program identified the mold and said you can't have it. If you don't have an inspection program, that becomes a landlord-tenant issue, not a city code enforcement issue. So some of the tenants' problems might be municipal code involved. If it's a building code violation, the stairs are not safe, windows are cracked. Some of those things might be building code violations, but you could have some tenant problems, like the faucet in the sink isn't working, the hot water isn't working to give babies baths, that are going to be landlord-tenant issues maybe, and not code issues. Do you see the difference? And so the recommendation from staff, because they didn't want to lose the ability to inspect properties or lose the ability to train landlords, which I think are good things, wanted to give you that option to retain them. And that was your staff recommendation.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Charette?
I think the only thing that you didn't say is in that situation, a tenant cannot be, under this new, they cannot be evicted. They would have rights to not be evicted because they called with a code violation. And
It
if they-
might operate as a defense under eviction laws, I'm not certain. Perhaps what would have been less confusing to the council and maybe to the public would have just been repeal it in its entirety, just repeal it, but oh, by the way, would you adopt a new ordinance, a new maintenance ordinance? That might have been a clearer clarification. But what staff is giving you is really that, it's just how we've used this word
Yes,
repeal and amend. So if you can shift your thinking into, one of your options is to repeal everything, and the other option is just to give you a new, brand new ordinance that goes to maintenance and to training for the landlords. If you shift your thinking to that, then you actually get it all. You get a repeal and you're getting the new inspection and training.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
For the substitute motion, which is option 1, Councilmember Sanchez.
And this is to amend.
This is to amend.
This is to amend. And I want to make it clear while the iron's still hot, this is not the city clerk's fault. All right? Staff cross their recommendations. So if this is to amend and create, essentially, both of these options repeal crime-free housing. One of them replaces the crime-free housing with a maintenance program. So both of these, I can't emphasize that enough, both of these repeal crime-free housing. One of them just replaces it with a maintenance district, and that's what I will be voting for. Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Reynoso?
No.
Councilmember Calvin?
No.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes with 5 affirmative votes. Councilmember Reynoso and Calvin voting in opposition. Mayor, if I may, just read the title of the
Yes, please.
ordinance. Okay, so ordinance of the Mayor City Council of the City of San Bernardino, amending Chapter 15.27 of Title 15 of the San Bernardino Municipal Code regarding rental housing program maintenance standards.
Thank you. Item 20, again, has been moved to next Tuesday at 5:30 PM here at this location as a special meeting on strategic initiatives. We are going to move to item number 21, Mount Vernon Avenue Viaduct, Amendment Number 3 to Cooperative Agreement Number 161001477. Is there a motion for this item in a second? Okay. Councilmember Sanchez, followed by Councilmember Reynoso.
What was that? Oh, can I? Yes, so Right now, what this essentially is we're advancing SBCTA, our Measure I money. Our Measure I money is to improve surfaces. So this is streets, I think maybe even sidewalks, bridges, traffic lights, that sort of thing that we all agree we should be spending money on. But we're already advancing 5 years worth of Measure I money. And then with this, we're going to advance another 2. But we have something that might save us in the last second, which is the ARPA's new flex rules have come out over the last 3 weeks, and they allow us to spend ARPA money on projects like the Mount Vernon Bridge. And you may not feel the deficit of not being able to use Measure I revenues now, because we're still implementing programs that are being funded with Measure I. But year 2, year 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, believe me, if you think people are upset right now about the conditions of our streets and bridges, they were going to come here with pitchforks and torches. So in order to be able to claw back some of that, and I really don't want to go with the 7-year option, I would direct staff, my motion would be direct staff to come back second meeting in October with an option to use the remaining ARPA funds, the ARPA, what we now call ARPA Flex funds, to supplement the gap in funding for the Mount Vernon Bridge. So a tentative approval of SBCTA's offer of an additional 2-year advancement on the Measure I funds as a tentative, but come back second meeting in October with an option to use ARPA Flex money to fill that $13 million gap so we can get that Mount Vernon Bridge built.
Thank you. I failed to have staff present first, so why don't we just go ahead and have staff present, along with, we do have an SBCTA member, staff are here too as well.
But I will second his motion.
So thank you, Mayor. I think in today's discussion, we have a myriad of staff here to present this item. So we're hoping by tonight's presentation, we're able to answer any questions and hopefully get consideration for the approval of this item. So as mentioned, staff is recommending approval of amendment number 3 to the cooperative agreement number 16-100-1477 with the San Bernardino County Transit Authority. This report will be handled by multiple project team members. So we'll be discussing the background on the project, why and how the change order came to be and the particulars associated with the change order, the impact on the current project, fiscal impact to existing project and future ones, and finally the fiscal impact. So now I would like to pass on this item to Christy Harris, Director of Project Delivery for SBCTA.
Thank you, Daniel. And good evening, Mayor Tran and council members. My name is Christy Harris, SBCTA Director of Project Delivery. I'm here with my SBCTA colleagues, Andrea Zurich, Director of Funding Administration, who is participating virtually, Vanessa Schoenwald, Chief of Funding Administration, John Meyer, Project Delivery Program Manager, Tim Hilton, Chief of Project Controls, and Carrie Schindler, SBCTA's Deputy Executive Director. We are here to support city staff on this item and help answer any questions that you may have. About a month and a half ago, on June 21st, I was here presenting the status of the Mount Vernon Viaduct project. I will briefly recap that status report and then share more recent developments. The Mount Vernon Viaduct project is essentially a 3-phase project. Number 1, demolition of the bridge, which was completed in April of 2021. 2, the BNSF intermodal yard construction, which allows the trains to continue running during construction of the new bridge. And of course, phase 3, which would be construction of the new bridge. The original completion date for the project was May 2024. We are currently at the end of phase 2. As of this moment, BNSF is wrapping up their work and is committed to provide rail yard access to the bridge contractor this coming January. The project has met several unforeseen challenges that have resulted in some delays. Even with some risk built into the project schedule, construction is still unpredictable, especially on a project like this with multiple parties, large complex right-of-way acquisitions, and railroad operations all coordinated throughout the course of a pandemic. Due to utility relocations, extended right-of-way negotiations, and BNSF project delays, The new estimated completion date, as previously reported in my last visit, is August 2025. Of course, we expected these delays to impact the project in terms of cost, material availability, and procurement and supply chain issues. And once BNSF committed to allowing access in January, the contractor was able to quantify delay impacts and submitted an estimated cost increase of $14.7 million in escalation and extension costs. The project team negotiated with the contractor to bring that number down to 13.3. Since this number is outside the capacity of our existing cooperative agreement, this Amendment 3 was formed and approved by the SBCTA Board of Directors earlier today. With the city approval of this amendment, the contractor will be able to mobilize in the field and start construction in the city right-of-way on September 11th. The project team is very excited, as I'm sure you all are, for the construction to get underway. The new bridge will be structurally safe, ADA compliant, welcoming to pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists, all while reflecting the historic character of the old bridge. I also want to take this opportunity to remind the community that SBCTA and Omnitrans are continuing to partner to provide free bus service to the community. This service is free as long as the project is underway. This concludes my portion of the presentation. I'll hand this back to Daniel so he can discuss financial impacts to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. So now I would like to bring up O. Condomirci, Capital Improvements Program Programmatic Manager with TransTech, who will be discussing the next phase of this discussion.
Could you turn on the mic, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to go over the fiscal impact of this project and the impact of this project to the other Measure I funded projects in the city's current capital improvement program. So the funding plan, this funding plan requires the city to take advantage of the previously approved 5-year advance of the city's projected allocations of Measure I arterial sub-program funds through the year 2034. Although the funding plan will commit all of the Measure I arterial sub-program funds the city is projected to receive through 2034, it will provide funding to complete the 4 major street projects in the current CIP program in the next 5 years, as shown in Table 1 of page 4 of the staff report. The projects currently funded through Measure I funds on the current CIP, including Mount Vernon Bridge, there are 3 more projects in the current CIP. These projects include H Street widening, State Street widening Phase 1 improvements, and 40th Street widening project. The approval of this amendment will have no impact to the existing arterial projects through 2029, these 4 projects that I just went over. The total project cost for Mount Vernon Bridge improvements is estimated to be approximately $245 million, and the city's share to date, including this change, extra cost to the project, including the $13.3 million, the city's total share is $39.3 million. This includes Measure I arterial sub-program funds as well as development impact funds, which consists of 16% of the total project cost. A total of approximately $206 million has been contributed to the project through a combination of federal, state, and BNSF funding. So this concludes the fiscal impact to the other CIP projects by approving this change to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Hernandez?
Yes, so this concludes staff's presentation. I do want to urge the council that by approving this item, it does not necessarily commit us to only using this. So if the council approves the cooperative agreement, we allow now SBCTA to authorize the contractor to move forward. But if we want to infuse different funds, whether it be city funds, the $13.3 million is what we would need if we didn't bring in any funds in. So if we want to actually, when we enter into the term agreement, we can notate any additional funds that we're going to bring into it, so it reduces our amount. But by allowing us to move forward tonight, we're allowing the contractor to mobilize to continue the project. Because if we don't approve this item, then there could be additional costs, which right now are not quantified.
Thank you. Councilmember Figueroa?
Thank you, Mayor. So the reason for this cost is because of the delay, right? The delay occurred because of these other agencies. So please help me understand why we can't hold these other agencies responsible for the cost, the difference of these additional monies.
So if staff can just remain around the podium so that we can all kind of jump in and answer the questions. Christy, if you can field this question, please.
So, if I may, and then you can step in and help. So when we delivered I'm Carrie Schindler, I'm the Deputy Executive Director for SBCTA, and we enter agreements with the railroad and with the gas company, right, in order to mobilize and deliver the large project. When we enter those utilities agreements or the construction and maintenance agreements, they do include language that protects them. I understand that's frustrating, it's not what you want to hear, but they are not the ones that brought the project forward, right? It's a city project, we're delivering it, and they write in language to protect themselves. We do believe, I do believe, Christy can correct me if I'm wrong, you know, BNSF is putting about 40 million in?
Yes.
BNSF is putting 40 million in, so it is coming at some cost to them. But in the agreements we have in place, we are not in a position to go back and try to recover the cost associated with the delay from them. So there's that piece. I also want to clarify one statement earlier about paving roads. So Measure I, there's a couple different buckets of Measure I that comes to the city. There's the local streets and roads. That's what we use the term the capital improvement plan or the CIP for that. We are not talking that money here. We are talking about the funding that's available to the city called arterial funding. Mount Vernon's an arterial project, and that is the funding we're talking about here. And so I just want to make sure we're not utilizing what you primarily use for road maintenance here in this case.
Councilmember Sanchez?
It's the arterial fund, so, I
It's
mean,
arterial.
that's every arterial in the city. So, or is it just the arterials for funding Mount Vernon?
It's arterials that are identified in your development improvement fee plan. So unless there is, it's got to be in that plan. Your typical road paving jobs are not in your development impact plan, and you do not access the public share. We've got to tie those, we've got to marry those two funds together. You have to, if you're using arterial, you have to have a diff share, and you see that in the funding table in the amendment. Local streets and roads, you can go and pave, and it doesn't require a developer share.
But there's still going to be an impact, because now if we were to do the 7-year advance, that Measure I money isn't there to repave those arterials. Because this
It's
money
not
isn't coming out of thin air.
Well, the projects you've identified in your capital project needs assessment, those are being preserved. There's 2 that have been pushed out a little bit further, as I understand it. But the ones that you have in your approved CPNA, they stay there, and this project comes in with, it's already been there, and it comes in with a higher amount.
They stay there, but now they're not funded for the next 7 years.
The ones through 2029, right, Vanessa?
But those are already in the planning process, but now there won't be anything going into the
Yes.
proverbial tunnel for the next 7 years, because the funding's already been advanced for this project, this $13 million gap. So we will see this.
Along with the other ones that are on there, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I would just, go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Figueroa?
Mr. Hernandez, in the 14-month timeline, when was the city notified of the delays? Do we have in that timeline, when did we receive any type of notification of these delays?
So I can also defer this to Christy, but this delay goes back to even our previous staff. So prior to my arrival to the city, when I first started, there was already discussion about the delays that were taking place. So even our previous staff who was assigned to this project, who are no longer with the city, were aware of the delay. In terms of the duration of the delay, and how long we anticipated, like I said, I can defer that to Christy since she's closer to the project, since SBCTA is handling this, the construction
I
management.
would like to know how far into the delays was the city notified in those 14 months?
Christy, if you can please field that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So the city was aware, the city representatives who attended our meetings and were part of the project team knew immediately when, after the bridge was demolished in 2021, there was supposed to be a walkthrough, which there was with BNSF. There was also supposed to be right-of-way transfer complete before the clock started ticking on BNSF's mitigation project. So we were all aware that that right-of-way had not transferred and that there was a utility relocation that was delaying the start of BNSF. So city staff was aware from the beginning. We knew once the right-of-way was transferred and BNSF gave us a date of September 22nd, 2023, we knew at that point that there was an 11-month delay. The whole project team, including the city. So that was last fall. And in April, we had a railroad coordination meeting in person with city, without city staff was not there. I believe we invited them, but we had turnover, and I know that there was some, there was still some, shuffling going on. But it was April when BNSF informed us that they could no longer make the September date, that they would be done in December of 2023. And it is at that point that we knew in April that we had a 14-month delay. And I believe it was at the end of April that we notified the city, and in May when we met with the city to really, because we knew that that the city had new staff and probably didn't appreciate everything that got us to that point and the details that led there, or even, I mean, everybody understands what it means to delay, what a delayed project means, but probably didn't understand the impact. So it was in May that we first, I believe we first sat down with the city and really explained the impacts going forward.
Okay, so in May, but initially it was, you said in April? Or when was the initial notification of knowing?
From BNSF, we received a letter. We had a meeting with BNSF where they verbally informed us. They followed up the next week with a letter.
Okay, so it's fair to say that the city knew rather immediately, within a week or two or something, of knowing that there was going to be a delay. What I'm looking for here is just accountability. I mean, there's somebody needs to be held accountable for, look, if we weren't notified 2, 3, or 4 months into the delay, I mean, somebody has to hold some agency here accountable, because that's unacceptable. And so it's just frustration on my part, because this is something that, again, there was a timeline set, it was 2024, now 2025, now additional costs on top of that. And so there needs to be more accountability. And it's just, I'm just sharing the frustration, because there are residents, there are businesses in this area that have been greatly affected by this closure. And so now to hear that we're potentially not going to be able to take care of some of our roads or projects or capital improvement projects because of this delay, again, somebody needs to be held accountable for this. And it's frustrating. It's just frustrating, that's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Alexander, followed by Councilmember Calvin.
Thank you, Mayor. And I agree with Councilmember Figueroa. There are elected officials that sit on SBCTA. Were they not notified of this? Usually the mayor sits on as the lead person for SBCTA. Were they not notified?
So what I can tell you from project delivery is that we update the schedule, we actualize the schedules on a regular basis. I will, Carrie is in a position to have that direct contact with the board members, so I'll let her add on to what I just said.
So one is, we did have Christy come here in June, if you recall, and gave an update, and it included an update that the project was delayed. As we have been quantifying it, we have been ramping up our discussions with city staff because we were getting concerned that, you know, the flip side of what we were doing, we have a cooperative agreement, right? And it includes an action from SBCTA and it includes an action from this side. And we were concerned that it wasn't getting elevated. So it's probably been about 6 weeks since I personally reached out to the mayor. We've met twice, we've discussed it, and we have pulled in other staff from the city into the staff level discussions to try to reach this point of getting the cooperative agreement in front of you. I just want to remind you, while it is it's a very important project, right? The bridge had a sufficiency rating of 4. It was held up with, I mean, it was moved from elsewhere, repurposed, right, and held up with shoring that was not, it did not look good when you went out there. So very important project. 88.53% of it is funded by the feds. So we have done our best to pull in as much federal dollars and as we can to get this very expensive, very critical project finished. And I understand the frustration. If I was in your seats, I would want to have known, you know, had the dollar amounts and understand more sooner. We did provide the update in June when we knew, when we were gauging what the timeline was. It took us time to work with the contractor to quantify it and actually bring forward a specific number. But I just want to remind you that, one, you do still have access. This does not affect your local streets and roads funding. That is the capital improvement program, and that funding is a separate pot from SBCTA Measure I. It does affect your arterial.
So, and you said that, and I got that, right? And when you said for 7 years, so it's, so till 2030, we're not going to have any more arterial, is that right? 2034, no more arterial improvements for the city of San Bernardino.
Beyond what you already approved and sent over to us on your capital project needs assessment, which is an annual process we go through. It's a 5-year look ahead.
Yes or no?
You will have the projects that are on your approved CPNA.
Thank you. And could you name a lot of stuff, a lot of dates? Can you, Director, get with SBCTA and give this mayor and council a timeline of the things that occurred so we can understand what is going on here? Because this is just a lot of information. If my council members agree with some kind of timeline that how all this occurred.
Council member?
Yes.
And then that's what they've been doing. So they came here in June.
Right,
So this,
but I would like a written timeline, Mayor.
so the city manager can work with staff to put something together as an update to the
A
council.
written timeline.
So SPCA has already prepared that, but we can formalize it to in a memo that we can send on behalf of
Thank you so much. Do you know when that's going to happen?
I'll have to confer with the SBCTA on putting together that information, but I feel that can be done in relatively short order, but
We can do it this week. We have
There you
summarized
go.
in an email
Thank you
many
so
of
much.
the dates that you're looking for to track how we got here.
Right.
So we can get it to, any additional information that's needed beyond the lengthy, summary that we provided, we can get this week.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
And we could add that to the city manager report update. Thank you, Charles. Any other comments? Councilmember Calvin.
Thank you, Mayor. So Director Hernandez, I just want to be real clear as to the information that I'm reading, and thank you all too. I will appreciate you. So it does say that this is expected in 2035 based on the funding projections, but this date could be earlier if the city pays the loans using the DIF funds. The city may also identify additional projects in the term loan agreement that would take priority over the repayment of Measure I funds, but those funds would not be available until 2035 if any additional projects are prioritized. So based on what the lady just mentioned, if the plot projects are not already established within our CIP plan, we're looking at 2034, 2035 for any other arterial projects, correct? And would the second, third, and fourth phase of the State Street expansion be considered as an arterial project?
So I'll answer the second question first because that one's the easier one. So yes, those would be considered arterial projects. So I appreciate you bringing this up because this actually tees up a next important point. So I'll call Okan back to the podium who can answer that question.
So that would mean then that phase 2, 3, and 4 would not be getting done until 2035.
So I will let Okan respond. It still could be done. And he'll discuss the mechanism by which we can get that done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. So to answer the question, there is an option to prepare a loan, term loan agreement to be able to use the uncommitted DIF funds to be able to pay the advancements in the Measure I arterial sub-program funds, so that the allocation that's going to be pretty much locked in by 2035 could be available earlier, is my understanding, so that there could be new projects, basically, if we can proceed with the term loan agreement, which will be taken at a future council meeting, by the way. So that agreement is not ready at this time, but it will be prepared for a future council meeting for the council's consideration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, if my council colleagues don't have any further. Wouldn't the dates adjust even earlier if there are funds available through grants or, legislators or helping us seek, assisting our city with these projects? Would that fast track the dates to free up the Measure I funding? And I just want to say that because I think there's opportunities if our city is exploring grants that's available to us that could assist with these projects. Could staff respond to that according?
So as indicated by Okan, obviously the term loan agreement will specify those specific parameters. So as brought up by Councilmember Sanchez, if we were to allocate ARPA funding, then our requirement would be a lot less, or how far we go out into the future would be lessened as well.
Correct, but other funding that could be available, not just ARPA.
I just used ARPA as an example,
Okay.
but if we were to bring in additional funding, then just like a home loan, if you pay it off sooner or if you bring in additional funds, you can pay down the loan sooner and not go out the full term. So this is just worst case scenario, right? The $13 million gets us out to 2034 and would now open up for future projects in 2035. However, if we find funds, we can always accelerate that and basically replenish the account. So if it's ARPA, if it's grants or local funds, whatever the city decides relative to the funding opportunities to fund this project, then we can fund that $13 million, which is not a one-time hit. It's going to be dispersed. So we have an option to pay back those funds and they basically accelerate that timeline.
Thank you.
And I concur. So I would ask you to really consider approving the cooperative amendment today so that we can get going. If there's additional funds or ARPA funds that come in that change that funding table, then staff needs to work together to do amendment number 4 that updates it to reflect that additional funding coming in.
So there is an urgency to approve this cooperative just so that it doesn't further delay and that
Increase
any other adjustments to the funding could come back as further
Absolutely.
amendments.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that we get a tentative agreement for the additional 2-year advancement on the Measure I money as a tentative. And then we can bring back ARPA Flex along with other options, whether it's granting, whatever. I would like that sooner rather than later. So second meeting in October, we have to approve this because, rough estimate, but we're looking at probably literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars more that will be added to the price tag if we don't get this approved. Because the contractor every day says material, labor is going up. It will go up by tens of thousands of dollars every day, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we need to approve this as a tentative and direct staff to come back with options second meeting in October. Is that okay? So that again.
I just got concurrence from SBCTA that we'll work with our finance department, we'll work with SBCTA to bring this back to you.
Okay.
I would
Second meeting in
support that.
October?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to move forward with what's presented to the council is to approve this cooperative agreement, amendment number 3. Can we call the votes?
Just for clarity, can I read back your motion?
Yes,
This is
please.
a motion by Councilmember Sanchez, seconded by Councilmember Figueroa, to tentatively approve the Measure I funds and directed staff to come back on October 18th to consider using remaining ARPA flex funds or other funds to supplement the $13 million gap to increase funding for the Mount Vernon Bridge.
Yeah. I just want to make sure from SBCTA, tentative doesn't mean, I mean, the contractor will be able, the general contractor, subcontractor, whatever, will be able to start work off of the tentative?
No, we
What do
need
you,
your,
what word do you need?
we need your approval of Amendment 3 today.
Okay.
And with the direction that staff comes back to you with the term loan agreement in
And
the
then we can make
October meeting.
amendments, we can make amendments to, okay.
And then if the city identifies other funds like ARPA,
Uh-huh.
that staff works
Okay.
with SBCTA to update the cooperative agreement to reflect that funding.
Okay, can we change the tentative to
Approve staff's recommendation and direct staff to come back.
with alternate staffing to include ARPA Flex? Okay, thanks, thanks.
Mr. City Manager, are you good?
Clarify that what we are doing tonight, what the council is doing, is authorizing to go ahead with the project, that we're going to fund it. The only question remains is where the money comes from. Yeah.
And for staff to look at what other alternatives as far as funding to explore in the second meeting of October.
Getting back to the council's question about the timeline in terms of how do we get here.
Correct. So updating the council on timelines and really what's going to happen next steps.
We got it.
Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, and then also assuring council with these other projects that are out there, where we're also looking for funding then to complete those as well. Thank you.
We're not putting every dollar of ARPA Flex in this, are we? Okay, thank you.
There
Call
was a
for the
second.
votes.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Councilmember Ibarra?
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Reynoso?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, SBCTA staff, for being here. Thank you. Moving on to Mayor and City Council updates. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes, give me 1 second while I pull them up. Right here. All right, so the Inland Empire Senior Games, 2023 Inland Empire Senior Games is scheduled to begin September 23rd and it will run through October 6th of this year. There will be competitions in tennis, a 5K, a 10K, walk or run, cornhole, basketball, horseshoes, billiards, a bunch of different things, exciting things for our seniors. This event is sponsored by the City of San Bernardino Parks and Recs, Park Recreation and Community Services Department, and co-sponsored by the Fontana Community Senior Center. If you want to be a competitor, please call 909-384-5430. And, here's another one. The city is partnering with San Bernardino Community College District and Hispanic Coalition for Small Businesses to host a business mixer on September 27th. The city will co-host a business mixer with the San Bernardino Community College District. The event is Wednesday, September 20. Did I say this already? Wednesday, September 27th, from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the San Bernardino Community College District's Economic Training and Development Center, located at 114 South Del Rosa Drive in San Bernardino. And finally, a rendezvous back to Route 66. The 10th annual Rendezvous Back to Route 66 car show will be taking place on Saturday, October 7th. This event will feature music, food, cars in downtown. So keep an eye out for the flyers and more information. It's always a great time. So come out and support the people who come out with their cars and support the city's effort to bring back downtown. Thank you.
Councilmembers Ibarra? Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So tomorrow, Thursday, September 7th, Cal State San Bernardino will be hosting the Latina Empowerment Day. It's a one-day conference. It'll be held at the Conference Center CD. Address for Cal State San Bernardino is 5500 University Parkway, San Bernardino. There is a registration link. If you'd like to attend, please call 323-646-9660. Again, that's the Latina Empowerment Day happening tomorrow, Thursday, from 8:30 a.m. till 1:30 p.m. Then we have, of course, we've mentioned on Saturday at Paris Hill Park, we'll be having the San Bernardino Symphony at the Night to Remember at the Rose Bell Bowl. That is up at the Paris Hill Park, 1003 East Highland Avenue from 5 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. And I'm gonna go through several more. On the 13th, Wednesday, September 13th, the Valencia and Paris Hill Park Neighborhood Associations will be meeting at 6 p.m. at the Denny's located at 702 East Highland Avenue. If you live in those two neighborhoods, please come out and address your concerns with the community, and we'll do our best to address them. And then, of course, I'd like to mention that September 15, 16 is going to be our, I'm a Mexican-American heritage, so it is a very important day for me. I do El Grito at midnight. For those who don't know, I don't want to do it out here, but I might do it at home. So, and then the following week, starting on the 20th, I will be attending the League of California Cities up in Sacramento, representing the city of San Bernardino. That will be from the 20th to the 22nd of this month up in Sacramento. And that will be what I have so far for the month of September. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to say thank you to our officers, the San Bernardino Police Department, for putting together, hosting the Badgers versus Ballers this past week, and it was a great event. The mayor was there as well. A few slam dunks from her. We didn't catch it on camera, though, so there's no evidence of it, but I saw it. No, so thank you to Supervisor Joe Baca Jr., who was there as well, representation from Assemblymember James Ramos, all the families that showed up, all the kids. It was a lot of fun this past weekend. The mayor and I as well, thank you for, we were able to participate in a ribbon cutting ceremony for one of the new businesses down on Harriman Place, down by the Hospitality Lane area, Sunright Tea. It was my first time actually even trying boba, so thank you to your family for suggesting which one to choose. It was really great, so thank you for that. And also the San Manuel Powwow is coming up starting September 15th, I believe, through the weekend next week. So just a heads up on that over at Cal State San Bernardino. And I'll finish off with saying a very heartfelt thank you to our city council staff. I know I'm going to embarrass them a little bit. They don't like to receive any recognition, but to Cheryl and Valerie, we would be so lost without the both of you. And so, again, just a sincere thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know that the council genuinely appreciates all the work that the both of you do. So thank you to the both of you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Charette.
Cheryl.
I'm working on, a lot of the things that I was going to say have been mentioned, so I'm not going to mention them again, and I'm waiting on one, so come back to me in a minute, please.
Sounds good. Councilmember Reynoso.
I'll try to be brief. This past weekend, I had the honor to attend the Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice's 15th year anniversary gala alongside Councilmember Kim Calvin. We were both awarded the award of Economic Justice Champion, and to come from an organization that works with the most vulnerable communities. As a council member, this is the first time something like seriously meant something to me. And I felt like my heritage, like I'm doing my family proud and all my lineage. And so thank you to them for their work, and thank you for the acknowledgement, because sometimes you need a little boost, am I right? So as mentioned before, the Dodgers are going to be redoing Blair Park's baseball fields. That is my home park. Spent a lot of time there that I probably should have been in school even. I'm comfortable saying that now because I'm way out of school. But Blair Park was a lifeline for me. And it's a lifeline for a lot of kids in the community. It's where my nephew will begin playing t-ball soon. So I watched my brother and drove him down the street to play t-ball and back and forth. And so this is huge. And I'm also a Dodgers fan, obviously, so it's incredible. And also I want to thank, obviously, Lydia Gutfield, just been holding down Parks and Rec, making us all look good. And San Manuel Band of Mission Indians for their humble contribution of $1.2 million towards this project. They're going to redo all three of the fields. Originally it was going to be one, but now it's all three. Sidewalk repairs, I don't know if you noticed on the north side of Kendall Drive, I'm so pleased to see even sections being done, because immediately when I came in, there was a lot of things that I was told, kind of politely, you can't do that. It's going to cost way too much money. Because when I'm looking at that sidewalk on the north side, I'm thinking the street needs to be widened, and I know how much that costs. But we're doing the repairs regardless. So I really appreciate that. The foliage came down first, and then the sidewalks. I see kids walking back and forth from Cajon High and Bob Holcomb Elementary every day, Shannon Hills included. And so they need somewhere that they can walk where they're not in the street. So I appreciate our team for being out there and doing that work. Also doing some work on school crosswalks, a lot of them, particularly Bob Holcomb as a standard. I live very close to there. But a lot of the crosswalks in the various areas of the Fifth Ward specifically, and the city at large, we need to be lighting them up. Not striping paint isn't enough, and so I hear from a lot of moms, and it's warranted. And so we're honing in on that. I've been working with Daniel to see like what's possible without having to do a lot of the formalities. There's some water leaks and street repairs that are needed. We're honing in on that as well. Want to let people know. The Oxbow cement pile has not been forgotten. It was supposed to be here already, but I'll let you slide this time. I expect to see that very soon. The Oxbow cement pile. We're supposed to see that already. But nonetheless, I am focused on it. Don't think that I ever forgot about that. Obviously, curbs are being fixed throughout the Fifth Ward. I finally noticed a lot of the ones that I flagged. A lot of the ones that the community is tagging daily. They're flat now. They used to look like skateboard ramps. And I know some people appreciated that, but a lot of people didn't. And so I'm glad they're leveled now. I want to invite everybody to the Latina Empowerment Day tomorrow. As Councilmember Ibarra said, the registration is on Cal State University San Bernardino's website. But also want to invite you to the Afro-Latinx Carnival that's happening at Cal State next Tuesday. I'll be speaking there. It's going to be from 12 to 3 p.m. in the Student Union North. Also, San Manuel is having the powwow beginning on 9/15, as Councilmember Figueroa mentioned, up at Cal State San Bernardino. You know the annual tradition. Come out, have a good time. And then on a more personal note, I want to not only thank Valerie Montoya for the work that she's done. I hope that she's at home just watching this. But we wouldn't make it through a lot of the stuff that we do if we didn't have the coordinated and consistent updates and questions and calls to the number that actually they can get to us on, because half the time we're working throughout the day. But I want Valerie to know from wherever she's watching, and I know she appreciates the hero pay. That's a nice gift to send her out on, you know. But thank you, Valerie, for all that you've done. I hope you're watching. Yes. Yeah, we love Valerie. And also, I want to wish a farewell to a good friend of mine and kind of a staple in the Hudson neighborhood of the Fifth Ward, Joy Anderson. Joy has experienced tremendous loss, and too much for anybody to handle, to be honest with you. And in her last trip to Texas, her family did the right thing. They said, Joy, you don't have anything left there for you. Just come. And so she's selling her home. She lives right across from Hudson Park. It's a little sad. But Joy, her legacy lives on. Not only through me, but tons of people and young people especially. We had a good thing going. Forgive me. And then, I'm sorry, I can't explain her loss, but it's heavy. And then 9/11, I know it's a somber day, but on a lighter note, it's my daughter's first birthday. And so I want to wish my Zeneca Sage an early first birthday. She just started walking last week. Incredible to watch them grow. And I want to thank her mother, Esmeralda, for sticking through this with me on the toughest year of our entire life. And I see Con back there. Congratulations. I know that you've done this a couple times, and I watch a lot of parents now being a parent. And if I don't catch you on the way out, congratulations, but also thank you, and I wish you and your wife the best on your new incoming son. And I'll end there.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Nelson. That's okay. Councilmember Calvin.
Well, thank you, Mayor Tran. I appreciate that. So I just want to thank everyone that came out tonight that is already at home, hopefully tucked in their beds, for coming out and supporting and voicing their opinions on what it is that we need to be mindful of and continue to be mindful of. I appreciate that each and every time. I want to talk about some things that are going on in the ward. I want to thank the city of Rialto and Mayor, City Manager Charles McNeely and Director Hernandez for meeting with the City of Rialto. That Pepper Street paving project will be beginning on 9/11. That paving will be taking place from Pepper, from baseline to Mill, and so we're very grateful. That is a coordination between cities, and it's going to take care of some folks that are in Councilmember Figueroa's ward and Ward 6, and of course, City of Rialto. We appreciate that kind of coordination. Mayor Tran and Dr. Ortiz and I celebrated Women's Equality Day at Cal State San Bernardino this past week. So it was wonderful to sit on the same panel and discuss issues regarding women's equality. I want to say shout out Lieutenant Echeverria, who is assigned to the West End for their Ballers and Badges basketball game that they had this past Saturday. I wasn't able to attend, but I did see some wonderful pictures, and I'm not quite sure if the mayor was dunking or not, but if Councilman Figueroa says it is, and I'm going to believe him and go ahead on with that. I did attend the Violence Intervention Program. They had a community workshop, and that was wonderful to see all of the wonderful work that they've done. I need to say thank you to Robin McKinnon for her backpack giveaway that she held in the community with the support of Park and Rec and some others. It's always wonderful to see community members and organizations giving back. Can't say thank you enough. Happy belated Labor Day for all of the folks who continue to labor and make things go around in this city and in this nation. And so that makes me very proud that we are able to pass the Heroes Pay and be able to serve our staff members. It's long overdue, but I'm very, very happy and proud about that. And thank you again, City Manager McNeely, for bringing that forward. Let's see here. I think that, of course, Councilmember Reynoso did state that we did receive an award from the Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice, and that was a very, very emotional award for us to receive, but I appreciate them acknowledging our work. And I believe that is all for me. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Alexander?
Yes. Good evening, San Bernardino. First of all, I'd like to wish you a belated Labor Day. For all of you that were barbecuing in your backyard, I smelled it. It was smelling good. I would like to thank staff for consent item number 18. I'm a big local vendor initiative person on this council. I love when council and staff and directors actually listen and actually go out and hire from the city of San Bernardino proper. That's a great thing, taking care of home first. So when I saw that on the consent calendar, I was very, very pleased. Very good, directors. On August 23rd, I attended Operation Student Recovery with the San Bernardino City Unified School District, where we went out throughout the city and try to get our students back to school again. It was a great day out there trying to get students that were missing from our educational institutions. Also that day, I was a speaker at the second annual Leadership Summit for Fatherhoods, which we talked about leadership for fathers in the city of San Bernardino and surrounding areas. Also, I had a meeting with Superintendent Mauricio Ariano, I'm sorry. I do that every single time. Forgive me, Superintendent. We had a luncheon together, and we talked about how the city and the school district can work together better instead of working in silos with issues like the unsheltered. If they have a program and we have a program, it should be one program working together, because it's one phone call when I get a call. If that parent has students inside the school district, there's no need for us to be working differently. That's one initiative that he agreed with, and hopefully he's reached out to you, City Manager, about working together with that particular issue. I'd like to thank our outreach team. I've been burning up their phones. I appreciate them coming out to the ward, the 7th Ward, and dealing with those particular encampments before they get too large. I appreciate them for doing that. Upcoming things, September 9th is my neighborhood association, the North End Neighborhood Association. We're having a cleanup September 9th at 8 a.m. Our rally location is Marshall and Valencia at 8 a.m. Once again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but since I sit on the symphony board, it's a free concert, ladies and gentlemen, at Roosevelt Bowl. It doesn't cost you a dime. The city and the symphony orchestra come together. We have the best maestro west of the Mississippi, who is going to conduct that orchestra. You should come on out. Once again, I went to the school district. I shared that information with them. They're going to bring out some students to come see that. And come on out. It's right there at Pearsall Park. It's going to be looking fantastic. 9/11, as a former first responder, just come on out and just don't forget what happened at 9/11. To all those first responders out there, you have me, you have my heart. September 13th, again, the Valencia and Paris Hill Neighborhood Association. They meet at Denny's at 6 p.m. If you don't know where that is 30th and below, off of Valencia, 30th and below, to Highland. That's the Valencia part. And then the Paris Hill Park is the Paris Hill area. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Charette.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, like I say, everyone's mentioned the things I've been talking about, the Roosevelt Bowl, the Route 66 and all that, but I wanted to remind everybody in the north end, the east end of Coffee with a Cop, up there they move it around, and I was unfamiliar with this actual location. That's what I was trying to gather up, and it's in one of the buildings at St. B's this time. It'll be September 19th, Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. It's 403 East Highland Avenue, and the name of the building is Baby and Family Center. And again, it's 403 East Highland Avenue, part of the facility, the St. B's facilities there at Highland and Waterman. So this Northeast District seems to always get a really good turnout for these, and they get a lot of good information from our PD. Appreciate all that they do, and I just wanted to mention that. So thank you. And we'll see you all at Route 66 and at the the Roosevelt Bowl and everywhere in between. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, a lot of the things my colleagues have mentioned, so I'm not going to repeat, so I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Oh, yes, Mr. City Manager?
If I can, just,
Yes.
Councilman Alexander reminded me of something. We are in the process of, the staff here, are in the process of setting up a joint meeting with the superintendent at Unified School District, San Bernardino Unified School District, their staff and city staff, to talk about ways we can jointly work together to share resources and work on things. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. And I actually just wanted to commend staff for meeting weekly to address the homelessness crisis that in our cities. Your team is doing an amazing job working with the county, and now with the school district. It's all about partnership. So thank you so much. And looking forward to the strategic initiatives next week. Okay, so the meeting's adjourned at 10:41 p.m. The next joint regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council and the Mayor and City Council, actually, there's a special meeting. I should mention that. The special meeting is next Tuesday, and that date is September 12th at 5:30 p.m., and it'll be here at the Feldheim Central Library located at 555 West 6th Street, San Bernardino, California, 92401. Closed session will begin at 5:30. Will there be a closed session? No, it's